Welcome to the HorseFrog podcast. I'm Kamran.
And I'm Billy.
Billy, what would you say we do here?
Well, we like to dig deep into a bunch of books and shows and movies that we love.
In excruciating detail, right?
In excruciating detail. And we like to talk about things that we like about them, what they make us think, and what we learn from them. And a lot of times we're going to go off topic, but we're going to bring it back in. Basically, it is just two guys hanging out talking about their favorite stuff. And it's not meant to be a replacement for anything. It's meant to be a companion to anything that we're talking about, any shows, any movies, any books that we're talking about. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show with us.
One final note before we begin the episode. If you would like to support our show, we have a Patreon set up. You can find the link at horsefrogproductions.com. You can also email us with any feedback at contact@horsefrogproductions.com. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description. Today we are covering The Boys, the Amazon Prime show, Season 3, Episode 6. As is tradition, prior to covering episodes of this show, we like to give a little warning. This show is intended for a mature audience and has extreme violence and some scenes of sexual misconduct, particularly in this episode today.
Yes.
If these topics upset you, then we do not recommend you continue listening. We have a number of corrections and additions today. I need to fall on a sword today, or perhaps multiple swords. One of our Patreon subscribers named Keon reached out to me with a critical correction. During Season 2, Episode 5, I referenced Tim from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I mistakenly called him a sorcerer. Keon has notified me that Tim is an enchanter. Not a sorcerer. And that is a capital B, capital I, capital G, big difference.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
Thank you for the correction, Keon. It is critical I don't mislabel such an important character and spread misinformation.
And if I don't know if I said enchanter, and if I let this slide, then in my acquiescence, it was silent assent, and for this I humbly apologize. So, Keon, we appreciate it, brother.
Yes, thank you. Now, this one, another one of our Patreon subscribers named T has reached out to me. I misspoke during Season 3, Episode 1 when I mentioned a certain Pathfinder D&D campaign that I was part of.
This reeks of personal. I'm assuming that this is personal.
It is. And now I'm going to read this as written.
It is written.
This does come from a certain perspective that is not my own.
Okay.
Billy, he goes through here and he does give a little rundown of the three people that were part of this campaign. Now, for those that may or may not have listened to that episode, this was a lawful evil campaign in the Pathfinder system for D&D, and it was the Kingmaker storyline. Billy, after I'm done reading these three, I want you to guess which character was mine. Remembering that I did not write this.
Right.
Okay. I am nigh inconsolable. A correction must be made for the beginning of Season 3, Episode 1 of The Boys. There was a reference to a certain Pathfinder Kingmaker D&D game that occurred over a series of years. It was incorrectly stated that Kamran's character was a necromancer. This is false, all capitals. Below are the correct character details. Brogan started out as a cleric. He became a high priest. He went through a dark ritual to become a grave knight.
I think I already know.
He summoned.
It's a spelling.
He summoned a undead repeatedly. He says, "Poor Jod," and operated as a tank support character for the party because someone had to do it because we didn't have a fourth member.
No, you did or Jod?
Jod had to be the tank. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. He was super cool, and this is referring to Brogan, and the denizens of the monster kingdom, Farengar, loved him. He got a tiefling wife named Ankara, no relation to Anka dance chick. Billy, you're probably not going to get this reference, but I get it because my kids have me 3D print one of these Anka.
Okay. I don't see. I know D&D, and I understand a lot of this, but I am unaware of the Kingmaker and this Pathfinder, and I'm unaware because my friends and I didn't have a lot of friends that I was actually able to play till I was older, and fortunately, Strategic Simulations Incorporated, SSI, put out a series of Pools of Radiance through Pools of Darkness. It was 4 modules for your PC. This is back in the 286 days.
Mm-hmm.
And probably about 89 to 92 or something like that. I forget roughly what year that would be. I'm not exactly sure. But it was, you could carry your characters through these 4 campaigns. And so that was as close as I ever truly got. Later on in years when me and my friends did it, but we never did modules. We were just chaotic storytellers, and we usually just party and playing and having a good time. So
I think that's the best way to experience it. When you're railroaded kind of into a story, it gets difficult to go out and get wild.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
I guess we were more chaotic good. Okay. But I guess chaotic neutral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brogan got this tiefling wife and then drained her blood to make her undead because undead are better. Moving on to the next character.
Wait, was he himself undead? He became a Grave Knight, so was he undead himself? The
Grave Knight was undead. It was unclear as to whether there was any meat left in the encasement of the armor.
And so what does our mind immediately go to?
What do you mean? Like
I think of the Talan.
Oh.
I think undead warriors for some reason. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. This was like a walking suit of armor that may or may not have been filled with something. Nice. His soul bound it together, I guess.
Okay, cool.
I'm probably going to get in trouble for either way. Elspeth was the ruler, who was a rogue that transmorphed into a fairy dragon hybrid who enjoyed getting it on with sickly gold dragons. So she would turn into a dragon, and then...
Why sickly?
This is written with a certain perspective. So
okay.
Now, Elspeth had a kobold assassin group, and then there was a network of old women in book clubs that acted as a spy network, and they were led by an old woman named Beldame. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I needed to be playing with you fellas.
It gets wild, yeah. Yeah. And then finally, there was Flipwit Poshment Meager son. He became a magister. He started out as an evocation wizard. He had an eyeball fetish. I'll give a little bit more information about that in a second. But eventually he turned into a lich who specialized at not preparing spells like flight and invisibility, as well as getting jacked up by river monsters. The 8th month of the year contained Hate Meagar Day. Now of these 3 characters, which one do you think represents me?
I know it's not the Elspeth for sure, because that is just not your character. Now you do kind of, I could kind of see you being Flipwit and or Brogan, but to me you're a little bit too lawful, I feel. So I think you kind of lean toward Brogan, and the Jod reference to me kind of makes me think of Jagged for some reason. And I don't know why I think that, but hold on, let me think. I'm gonna call first one. Brogan.
Interesting. Well, so the clue actually was the way it was written. He was so up on Brogan and down on Meagar. I was Meagar.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, Meagar. I said I was a necromancer, and I was actually a lich.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did have a tendency, under questioning people, to remove their eyeballs and put them in a jar. So that may have been a commonplace thing.
You're like myself. It's like when you see us and we're kind of happy. Well, you're not as happy and jolly looking as I am, but I'm that kind of character when we hang out and play. But it's like people are like, really? But now that I've been made aware of Hate Meagar Day, is there a particular way in which we celebrate, shall we say, Hate Meagar Day?
Well,
and I'm left. You've explained who Meagar is, and I thank you. And but why should we in fact hate Meagar? Is removing eyeballs a bad thing?
Well, I'm trying to remember why. I don't remember specifically why people hated me, but we remember we did kind of conquer and subjugate this kingdom because we were lawful evil, and then
because you're ruthlessly efficient at what you did.
Yeah,
and you like the Spanish Inquisition.
This may have been one of those random things that we had. The Spanish Inquisition, yeah, just randomly showing up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
This may have been one of those like random things that happened where it came out of the storyline where they were rolling things that would come up. And I think this may have been one of those items.
Okay, cool. I love it.
The assassin kobolds was hilarious.
I love that.
Yeah, this was a really fun campaign. I died, I want to say twice.
Who's the person that sent this to us? What's
T.
their T? Thanks, T. Great,
Yes.
great
Thank
info.
you, sir. Hopefully I corrected the record.
What day do we celebrate Hate Meagor Day on? So I can mark this on my future calendars.
I don't know. I don't know what the exact day was, but it was in the 8th month of the year.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Can we just dub it? Well, that's August, right?
Pick a day.
July.
Any day you want.
August.
Pick a day.
Well, I despise August in general in Texas just because the heat is usually disgusting. And down where I live, it's not as bad as it used to be, but man. So yeah, okay. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal, dude.
It's not every day. You get to pick one day.
Okay, I'll think on that. Well, I had 2 great birthdays I enjoyed in that, so I didn't want to mix it up with good birthdays during that month.
Okay,
there's plenty of other days to celebrate this hatred. So,
yeah,
I'll pick the 28th.
Okay,
there we go.
Sounds good. Yeah,
August 28th. Let me mark it. Wait. We're gonna have okay. I'm gonna mark this on the calendar.
All right,
for Hate Meagor Day.
That's cool.
For next Meagor. That's the 28th. Oh, that's even better. Because you know what's even better about it? It's Monday. There we go. Oh, nice. So Monday the 28th. There we go. Hate Meagor Day.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, we're good to go.
Another one of our Patreon subscribers named Dane reached out to us.
Dane.
He had a question about Black Noir.
Yes.
He would like to know our thoughts on how Black Noir is able to absorb so much damage when he's assaulting Butcher's aunt's house and when he fought Nakib, yet he appears to suffer brain damage during the flashback to the attack in Nicaragua. Right. I have 2 theories.
Okay.
In Nicaragua, he wasn't wearing his helmet, so it was exposed. And the alternate theory is that he's been upgraded in the 40 years since he was wounded. What do you think?
I'm not sure because we've discussed the multiple weights. So the fact that I'm not sure, have we really seen Black Noir for real since the coma?
Oh, you're saying you don't know if the individual that we've been seeing as Black Noir is Noir?
Or I'm sorry, here's where I'm going to get really wild. Is he in fact there, or is he only present when he's with Homelander or by himself?
The only time I've seen him was when the taco bowls were served in that room.
Yes. Oh, yeah?
That was in the command room for the 7. They were welcoming Supersonic, and that was the first time we actually saw him since he was in the coma.
In this room, though.
Homelander's in the room at the same time.
Okay.
Then we
this
saw
is important to me.
Okay. We saw him with Homelander when they abducted Maeve.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true.
So that they were there together again.
Okay, yeah. But I just don't know. I just do not know if what I'm getting at is something later on really makes me think something like, well, we'll get there. I'll cross that bridge. I'll burn that bridge when I get to it, as a matter of fact.
Okay. So you don't want to get into your theory?
Oh,
the damage aspect of it?
I am just curious or at the fact here, the way the show is portraying it, since he's been in the coma and has unhinged as he has now become Homelander. The why I keep saying, has anyone acknowledged the presence? I haven't dug that harsh because it just dawned on me. But tonight's episode, or the episode we're talking about in particular, when they're in the control room, no one's really acknowledging Black Noir. I know that they're not. I know that they're used to kind of not acknowledging him, but they usually look uncomfortable. They're just more more uncomfortable with Homelander now. And the other thing is that the conversation that takes place. You know what I'm talking about? The conversation with Black Noir and or Homelander. It's like it's just them 2 alone in the hallway. So do you get is Homelander Black Noir?
So you're saying is it a figment of his imagination at this point?
Figment of his imagination, and then he is one or the other.
How do we explain going down the hallway into the elevator, taking his chip out?
That's Homelander. Possibly.
Okay. We're getting into some real weird.
Yeah, I'm getting in the weeds, man. I'm going. So we'll cover. Sorry.
Okay. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
That's it's tonight's episode. Yeah, because we just don't. I just have no idea. Because the other thing, and we'll cover it when we get right to that scene. Because it's not too deep in this episode. So we'll come right back to this.
Okay. When we were covering season 3, episode 4, we were discussing watching Soldier Boy sing on solid gold. Was holding on the back of a chair and was squeezing it so hard that it was creaking. At the time, I couldn't recall the scene that this reminded me of,
Mm-hmm.
It's the interrogation scene in LA Confidential where
Yes.
Guy Pearce is interrogating the men who had that Hispanic girl captive.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe's character is listening, and he has a temper problem along with an intolerance for women getting abused.
Yes.
He's holding on to the back of a chair just like MM does, but he squeezes so hard he breaks it, and he rushes into the room.
Thank you, because that was killing me too.
Yeah, I had that like ingrained in my mind. I just couldn't picture who it was. Yeah,
and I love it so much. I'm like, how did I forget that? Because I think we've even referenced LA Confidential.
Yeah,
at least once.
The when Homelander shot Maeve with the gun, it was in season 1. They were and I mentioned the scene where Russell Crowe like falsely shoots the wall to make it look like the guy had shot at him when he went in the room.
Yes.
That was so we have mentioned it before.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. I'm surprised I remember that quickly when I mentioned that, because these episodes do tend to blur together.
They do. Well, we talk for 2 to 2.5, 3.5 hours for every week. It's like, wow, what did we talk about last week?
Like, by the end of this episode, I won't remember how we started the episode.
Right. You know what? I guess you just got to be that way too. Part of it is.
Yeah. My hard drive's full.
Right. I need to sleep. It needs to reboot.
Yeah. In season 3, episode 5, Nina visited Kimiko in the hospital and brought her Russian chocolate limes. We didn't have the detail on those, so here it is. This goes in the HorseFrog cookbook.
Copy that. The cookbook? All right.
They are hard-boiled lime flavor sweets with a chocolate center. They look like green Tootsie Rolls, and it's brown in the middle.
Yeah.
Sounds really good.
I dig lime. I dig Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah.
I'd give it a shot.
You can order them from the UK. There's a candy shop in the UK that I saw, so maybe I have to check them out.
Okay. Cool.
Episode 6. The episode begins with a warning on the screen. This is a warning for us. It's not a warning in show. Some scenes may not be suitable for some, really most, let's be honest, all viewers. But rest assured that any consensual relationships depicted, be they human, animal, superhero, or other, aren't real, harm no one, and in fact cost a hilariously large amount of visual effects.
Now, I actually texted Calmeron at this point to ask him if I should be worried about this episode. And
I did warn you. I said it does get kind of crazy.
But I must say, this is one of the better episodes I've seen.
Yeah.
It's a great episode, man.
We had such build up to it.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And a lot does happen.
Yes, it does.
After the warning, we see the Deep speaking into a camera from a YouTube video. He says, "Past few days have got me feeling a little, philosophical. These supervillain attacks, they've affected everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. We're all in this together, and together we can imagine a better world." As he is speaking, we get a pop-up in the upper right corner of the screen prompting us to buy deeper. Now $4.99 plus tax. He begins to sing Imagine by John Lennon. This is making fun of how out of touch Gal Gadot and all the other people were that did this at the beginning of the lockdown in 2020 from their mansions. Do you remember that?
No. Are you kidding me? I'm so woefully out of touch out of this stuff. I have a comment at the end of this, but I can just bring it up now. It's like I've seen some of this stuff kind of peripherally lately, and I get super cringy during any of this stuff. Anyhow, even if it's not celebrities, I get cringy when normal folks do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It
kind of triggers the melophobia, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It does.
Yeah. No dancing, but
I was going to say, thank the Lord they weren't doing the YMCA or triggered that and the acrophobia as well.
Yeah, definitely. After the Deep, the following people show up in the video singing, each of them filming themselves from different locations. We see Patton Oswalt, A-Train.
Insufferable.
I don't recognize the third guy. You recognize the third guy?
No.
Okay.
No.
Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks.
Okay.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Okay. Hey, I've seen him recently. He was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think.
Really?
Series. Yeah.
You've never seen him in anything else?
No.
He was in Eternals.
Not that I've knew.
You watched the Eternals. Well, you saw some of it.
About 15 minutes.
He was in 15 minutes of it.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in a bunch of other stuff. You probably don't recognize him because he went through a
Was he the
massive body
boyfriend?
transformation. No, he was one of the Eternals.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
said, I was so underwhelmed by that. I couldn't even make it. I tried like twice. I don't think I ever made it past the 10 or 15-minute mark.
hmm
It was like, what? I couldn't care.
It took me about 5 sittings to get all the way through it. It was passable.
I'm not one of these people that does these things in movies. It's like, well, to watch an improbable movie to begin with and then call out the improbabilities of the improbable movie. I'm not that guy. I usually sit down and enjoy this stuff. But I do agree with the general consensus is where were these guys in the Thanos situation? Would they have made a difference? The way that they're geared up, I would have thought they would have.
Yeah. I mean, one of them, he's basically like Superman.
Okay. That's what I thought. I thought that one fellow was supposed to be that type of, I knew he was Icarus. That's Icarus, right?
Yeah, Icarus. He's I don't even remember all their names, but yeah.
The comic books were just as uninteresting. This is why they can never keep the Eternals going for very long. It's, it's never maintained any, I'm sorry, as far as I am aware of, which it could be extremely limited. And I am not particularly biased anymore toward one or the other. They each do their own thing differently. I love Marvel cinema. I love DC comics.
I think that the issue is the scale of this stuff, because you bring it more down to earth. Well, this may be just personal bias, but for me, it was always the Captain America movies, like the Black Widow movie, the ones that were Iron Man, right? They're not necessarily more realistic, but they're definitely more grounded in issues on Earth. Once you go to the cosmic scale, it becomes much less interesting to me. You're talking about these cosmic entities like that eat planets. Yeah. It's just not that interesting.
It's like, as long as you're not eating mine, I'm sorry, folks. not in my backyard. Sorry, this George Carlin would say NIMBY. It's not in my backyard. Sorry, I shouldn't.
On that point of them being more grounded, so the Secret War trailer came out.
Okay,
and then that's the Marvel series that's going to be covering the Skrull invasion, right?
Oh, okay.
And that has Samuel L. Jackson in it again as Nick Fury.
Nice. Okay.
That looked really good.
I think I saw part. I'm down with that. But did you try anything else like the She-Hulk or the Ms. Marvel? I'm down for the Hawkeye. I started watching that with my parents, and that seemed really good. But Ms. Marvel was a comic book that apparently never really did really good because it doesn't appeal to who the audiences of comics are. And the same thing, She-Hulk was always kind of poorly written back in the day, and I watched one snippet, and I can maybe overlook it, but it's where her and Bruce are talking, and when they're all hulked out, and she's making some complaints about being a woman. She can just be murdered for being one. It's like we can all just be murdered for being who we are, sister. It's like I'm sorry that I'm really tired of that kind of nonsense. But I just heard it wasn't particularly good, so I've been afraid to try it. I know the only reason I want to watch it is because I know they're introducing and they're setting up for Daredevil. That seems to be the whole purpose for me is that they brought Charlie Cox in. Charlie Cox, I think, that D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio is going to play Kingpin. They are MCU characters now, a fact. So I'm not sure if they're going to bring John Bernthal. I hope they do as the Punisher because I really enjoy him as the Punisher.
Yeah.
Dude, they finally found the role for that fella, and I loved him as the Punisher. He was fantastic.
I was just thinking about him the other day because he was in those
Walking Dead.
No, I always forget the guy's name. The guy that writes Yellowstone, and he he wrote and directed Hell or High Water.
Okay. I'm not sure who that is either. So you've mentioned this before, but I'm so sorry. It's not something I know or have kept up with. So I'm aware of Yellowstone. I have seen probably 5 to 7 episodes with my dad. It's the one where he got that bleed so bad that on the ranch in his gut from an ulcer or something, and then they did an emergency real quick, like she lanced it or did whatever. I forget what they did to him, but it was pretty epic and gnarly. So I kind of dug it for what I saw, but I just walked off and didn't see it again. Too much to watch, man.
Taylor Sheridan.
Oh, I've heard that name.
Yeah, John Bernthal's been in a number of his movies.
Cool.
And that's why I was bringing it up right now.
Okay.
He was in Wind River.
Oh, okay.
And he was in...
Yeah, see, I love that movie because you also had Jeremy Renner and the other sister that's the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
That's an interesting concept too. That was a really good movie. And he was a good guy in that. Yeah.
Yeah. He was also in recently there was another movie he did that had Angelina Jolie in it. It was Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Oh, was that good?
Yeah.
She the fire watcher? Is that what she is in that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's on HBO Max. I think I'll check that out with KB.
Yeah. That's where I watched it. And I wasn't really expecting much. I didn't know Taylor Sheridan had written it. And it has the feel of his movies.
Okay.
I don't know how to describe the way he writes. There's always like this underlying sadness to everything. It's crazy.
Oh, okay. I get that.
You know, like Hell or High Water, same way.
Some folks are good at that, dude.
Sicario.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm so sorry. I have not seen any of those. So I need to go. You need to make me a list and just email me a list of how woefully far behind I am apparently on things.
All right. I don't recognize the next woman after Kumail Nanjiani. Then there's Rose Byrne. And then the video finishes with Black Noir. He's simply holding up a poster board sign that has black marker written on it with the words that he's supposed to be singing. Then he throws the sign down and stands in this really awkward pose. He's got these really jerky motions, and he doesn't seem to know where to put his hands when he's done. And then almost like a robot that's malfunctioning. It's just, I'm not sure if he has impaired movement or if he's just being awkward.
Yeah. And I feel awkward. I already feel awkward during this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm so unconnected from social media. How's this, folks? I just signed up for Instagram so I could look at our account for the HorseFrog Productions. So that's like, 2 weeks ago?
I still don't have an Instagram.
So I am just, that's how far behind I am. But dude, what? Then why did I do it then?
Well, I mean, the HorseFrog Productions has an Instagram. I don't have an Instagram.
Oh, okay.
You know, like I don't have a personal one.
Sure. It's not bad. Like I said, I've actually connected with a bunch of friends and from Fry's that have pitched the show. So
yep.
I don't know if it's helped or not. I even that picture I sent to the of the setup for tonight's Closet Fort was I posted that podcasting from here tonight, folks. check out the website, horsefrogproductions.com.
We fast forward a little bit and we're taken to the crime analytics lab in Vought Tower. The Deep is making a poor attempt at operating the computer for Homelander.
It's those webbed gloves, dude. It's webbed gloves.
You think so?
What's with this? He's an idiot to begin with. He's so funny, my word.
They are playing back surveillance footage of the explosion at Chimp Country. Homelander tells the Deep, stop. The Deep swaps out of the program. Homelander sighs in frustration and says, Deep, is there anyone else that can operate this thing seriously? The Deep says, Ashley thought we should get rid of most of them. He throws her right under the bus, man. It's like not even a second of thought. Hilarious.
It's like quicker than a Flash could do it, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fast.
Ashley defensively says, what? You fired them? The Deep interrupts her saying, here, I found it.
I'm surprised he found it. He did, though.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised. He did it, though.
Homelander has him play the recording, then tells him to stop and zoom in. A man is walking through the gate. Once zoomed in, they can clearly see it's Soldier Boy. Homelander whispers, Soldier Boy. The Deep says, no, that's impossible. He died like 40 years ago. Ashley asks, someone cosplaying? Homelander looks really subdued. He says, look at his face. It's him. The Deep guesses, or maybe CGI. Ashley says it's not CGI. You don't even know what CGI stands for. The Deep says it stands for blow me. Ashley says, I don't understand. Where has he been? Why did he kill Crimson Countess? I mean, the two were like Kurt and Goldie. All right. You know what? This is fine. We dominate the news cycle. I will call Haberman. We'll message that we got Soldier Boy totally under control. Homelander aggressively says, shut up. You want to tell the whole world that Soldier Boy, hero of heroes, is back from the dead and blowing up Midtown? Before me, he was Vought. His statue's in front of the building, Ashley. Oh my God, if this gets out, company's I'm Oh God, if the company falls, I fall. Oh God, why is this happening to me? This isn't fair. This is so unfair. During this little monologue, he has largely been talking to himself. The Deep and Ashley watch him uncomfortably.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable at this point. But and this goes to another point, what we were asked about Black Noir earlier. Black Noir himself looks, but he doesn't really seem, it's like no one is paying attention. Is Black Noir actually there?
If he never responds to any prompting. Okay, so to answer your question, no. Nobody responds to his presence that I've seen.
Well, no, that's not true. People respond to his presence usually in a very most uncomfortable way.
Annika.
Yeah, well, most everybody. I mean, Ashley included.
Mm-hmm.
And she is, I mean, now granted, Homelander is the far more worrisome of the two. Is it just by the sheer presence of the ever cranked up to 12, possibly Homelander, that you just don't worry so much about Black Noir? And again, this is just my theory. You know, I'm everything that I'm thinking about. It could be a different person, could be a clone, it could be something else. We got no idea. I mean, I'm open.
Okay.
It's the comic book is, like I said, there's something very specific with the comic book, and like I said, that I don't think it can't be that, because what we've seen under the mask can't be the same thing exactly. So
right. Homelander gets himself under control and says, "Okay, I'll handle this. I'm going to find him and kill him. You bury it, all of it. The footage, no one sees it. He it up. It's your head." He points at Ashley, and as he says this last bit.
Oh man, I watched that a few times because it made me. I just couldn't stop laughing from that. It was so funny. Great delivery.
Mm-hmm. He begins to walk out and says "Noir" over his shoulder, prompting him to follow. Ashley and the Deep both look at each other and take a deep breath after he leaves. Out in the hallway, Homelander is speaking to Black Noir. He says, "Why would he kill Crimson Countess? He was your team leader. You have any idea?" Black Noir simply stares at him. Homelander sighs and says, "I'm really glad to have you with me on this one, pal." Black Noir doesn't respond. Homelander sighs again and says, "Seriously, you're the only one I can count on." Homelander pats Black Noir on the shoulder and walks away. The elevator arrives on their floor and chimes. Black Noir turns and enters the elevator. There's one other person in the elevator, a woman. When the doors close, Black Noir pulls a knife out of a sheath in his left forearm and immediately stabs himself in the arm. The woman screams. He aggressively opens up a wound in his forearm, spraying the woman in blood. He digs around and pulls out his tracking chip, then turns and hands it to the woman. She whimpers and says, "Thank you." The elevator dings and Black Noir hustles out of the elevator. The woman is left staring at the tracking chip in her blood-covered hand. What the heck is that about?
I don't know. Like I say, it's so funny to think that he's obviously gone into hiding.
Is he going into hiding, or is he trying to join back up with Soldier Boy, or what do you think?
I don't have it. I didn't even think about it like that. Maybe it was something like that. And I'll tell you what, though, they have to train everyone that works in this building, because that woman took it like a champ. Think about that. That they have to be trained. Most people just don't walk in there and cut themselves open in front of them and then place the bloody remnant in your hand and walk off without saying anything. It's like she's in the elevator just thinking, "Oh my goodness, is it him again? Have I done this? This is twice now." I'm just curious. It's kind of odd.
I don't think they're trained. I really think it's like a hostile work environment.
Okay. I must say congratulations to the woman for handling it so well.
What choice did she have? She could only cower in the corner. She's in a steel cage with Black Noir.
That's true, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just curious. Like I said, again, she handled it quite well. She doesn't have a choice, but it could have gone worse.
Yeah, she didn't start just screaming and screaming and screaming. She did whimper a bit. Yeah. There was kind of a scream of surprise, but realistically,
she takes the splash of blood in the face with it's like, whoa, yeah. What do I do? It's like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Do I really want to write a report on this? This is the third time this month I've been to HR. I'm gonna have to sit down with this guy and make a face-to-face with him now. It's like,
Yeah, we've talked about what HR would be like at this company. Can you imagine?
Oh, my word. Oh, it's got to be a nightmare. They're just giving people lots of money. Maybe someone's happy about that. Who knows? Maybe it's like you hit the lottery and bought. Right, Black Noir bled on me. That's gonna be like a couple mil right there. I don't know.
Butcher and Huey pull up to a motel. Inside the room, Soldier Boy dumps out a bag of Whataburger. Is this a play on Whataburger?
If it's not a play, it's at least a pun, because Germans say what with a Vat. It would be, my name is William. It would be Wilhelm in German. So Whataburger. That's kind of funny.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think of it that way.
It's kind of clever.
That's how a German would say Whataburger.
Yeah. So Is that Stormfront? You know what?
There is a sauce container that appears to say sweet and deep sour dip. Now, I was inclined to say that this may be sweet and sour deep dip, but oddly, that makes less sense. And the placement of the words on the label doesn't work out on the container.
Right.
Yeah,
Unless
it really looks like
deep.
Sweetly deep.
Sorry, deeply sweet.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable either way.
Yeah. Huey scratches around in one ear. His finger comes out with some crazy goo on it. He says, "What the hell?" And he stares at it. Soldier Boy asks, "Where's the Chopsaki Oriental sauce?" Huey says, "They don't have that anymore." Soldier Boy asks, "Why the not?" Huey says, many good reasons." Soldier Boy looks at Butcher and asks, "Did you get the other?" Butcher says, "Here you go, Gov," and pulls a bottle of alcohol out of a brown bag and sets a pill bottle down on the table. Soldier Boy says, "Oh man, I missed Benny's. It's how we won D-Day, you know. We were wired to the gills."
I believe that to be true.
What are Benny's?
Speed.
Oh, okay.
It'd be like methamphetamine, I think, but government just handed them out by the bucket load to them old fellas, and especially because some of them, man, those guys would get on some of that stuff. They'd be up for 2, 3, 4 days. In some cases, I think you get in some hairy positions like that. I know our pilots would sometimes do some crazy things, like put pinches of tobacco in the corner of their eyes because it stings so bad. So it stings so bad when they blink their eyes that they wouldn't want to close their eyes and keep their eyes closed.
Wow.
Because they'd be so tired. So
I can see that.
So they would be fighting and stressed out, but then you feed these boys a bunch of that stuff, they can go for you keep person awake and kind of functional, pretty functional for 2-3 days before they start getting serious degradation, before they need to sleep. So
yeah. Soldier Boy sets 4 pills down on the table and smashes them with the butt of his knife. Butcher says, "Listen, let's have a little chat about this team up, yeah?" Soldier Boy says, "Yeah, what the hell do I need a team for? The last one handed me to the Reds." He continues to make lines with the powder. Butcher says, "And we got you out of that little pickle. We wrapped up Crimson Countess and delivered her like a Christmas turkey. And I even sorted gunpowder for you." Soldier Boy asks, "Why? Am I supposed to be impressed with that? That's like killing Emmanuel Lewis." And he chuckles. He then snorts a line of the powder. Now, Emmanuel Lewis is the individual that played in the show Webster. He's a pretty small in stature, even as an adult. I don't even think he got much taller than 4 feet, looks like.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too,
Yeah. I did see a picture of him sitting in Michael Jackson's lap when he was a kid.
Oh, yeah. Make of that what you will.
As Soldier Boy is speaking, I'm not going to comment on that. I will move on. But when I was researching him, because I couldn't remember who he was, I saw that picture and I was like,
Webster was, I was old enough. Like I said, I would have probably been 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that. It was in the 80s at least, I believe, probably 82 for some reason, probably. My brother graduated high school 82. I kind of remember 82 a little bit more cemented in my head because that would be the year, like I said, he graduated. So I was like, oh, okay. He moved out for a while. I was like, all right. Got the place to myself now.
Yeah.
Sorry, bub. Love you, brother.
As Soldier Boy is speaking, Huey walks over to his shield and attempts to pick it up. He can't.
It doesn't even move.
Yeah. It's very surprising how heavy that thing was.
Must be like that's just a straight up sheet of steel.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just twice as heavy as a bottle of jam. Maybe this is weak Huey we're seeing.
Yeah, but he's at least bold in his mind, I guess. I don't know. Oh, petite Huey.
Butcher snorts and says, "Yeah, well, he grew up a bit since you last saw him." Soldier Boy notices what Huey is doing and says, "Hands off the shield." He then opens the bottle of alcohol and takes a swig. Butcher says, "Anyway, you want payback on payback, don't you? Well, it just so happens that we are experts at exterminating bag soups. You see, it's a whole different world out there now, son. We're here to help you find your way."
We are expert. We are experts.
We are expert.
We're expert. I am expert.
Soldier Boy says, "Well, I can find them on my own." Huey steps in and asks, are you sure? I mean, do you know what a GPS is or a Bluetooth? Or, I mean, he chuckles, the internet? Soldier Boy is chewing on a bite of hamburger. He looks at Huey and says, you made those words up. Dude, I love it. Can you imagine if you were teleported forward 40 years? What do you think the biggest shock would be for you in terms of technology?
It had to be the phone, because he was around in the 80s, so he would
Mhm.
have seen the advent of home computers, not PC, but home computers.
Mm-hmm.
We were a home computer family just because my father bought one for the business. We had a computer with an 8-inch floppy drive
Mm-hmm.
back in the 80s. So I'm sorry, that would have probably been more like 79 to 80 that we had that thing. It was
Mhm.
it was a TRS 80. So my parents had, so he would have been familiar with a little bit with some of these advances. The idea the internet might would be a little bit of something, but that's not as surprising as you think. There was an intranet between two of the schools on the East Coast. I forget which two it was. That dates back to the 60s, that they shared data between two schools through a network. So that is not as foreign as we think at that era, even then, but it would be the cell phone. I mean, look at the smartphone in particular. That would be the thing.
Well, I
That'd blow
think it's
my mind,
really
dude.
it's the two in conjunction with each other. It's the smartphone and the internet, because
Yes.
having a computer in your pocket that has access to all the information ever,
Yes.
like the entire library of Alexandria, practically, you know, like whatever you could get.
Anything you could think of. Yeah. This is what we've talked about, or being not an oral based culture and being able to dispose of the information that we read of in our
Mhm.
brain, because you can pull it up. I forget what you said that was, but
It's a cognitive bias.
Cognitive bias. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, where you don't remember things like, or humans don't remember things like they used to because they know they can look it up anytime they need to.
Right.
Whereas previously, they would be able to remember a lot more.
Yes.
There were stories of people remembering all kinds of phone numbers just off the top of their head.
Well,
you know, stuff like
I
that
said,
when you had to.
back to the old cultures.
Oh, yeah.
The ancient cultures, those guys could memorize. Yes, they could. Those Old Testament, but a lot of the Old Testament rabbis, the Old Testament rabbis, I've understood, and I mean, even up until the 4th, 5th, 6th century, some of these fellows, and even to this day, some of those fellows could recite like the entire Old Testament, which is 2/3 of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's wicked. But the language, the Hebrew language, is also full of mnemonic. I don't know if you know that, it's full of mnemonic devices to help for you to remember, though.
I did not know that.
So that's a lot of that. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is written apparently in the Hebrew with just chock full of mnemonic devices to help trigger and to help you to remember these things.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move along. I'll get bogged down in that.
Huey says, no. Those are real words. And you need those to find them. All right. You need us.
I love that look on Soldier Boy's face, dude. Like, you made those up, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That look is priceless. He pulls that off wonderful.
He's surprisingly cool.
Yeah, he is. I dig him. I like him.
Yeah. Butcher moves up and sits across from Soldier Boy at the table. He says, kid's right. And all we ask in return is that you add one more name to the list. Soldier Boy asks, who? Butcher says, a right named Homelander. Soldier Boy says, I've seen pictures. Who is he? Butcher responds, he's the new you. Soldier Boy says, no one's the new me, pal. But why him? Butcher says, let's just say you're not the only one wants payback. Soldier Boy says, all right, you help me find the rest of my team, and I'll help you with this Homelander. He then snorts another line of powder. We end the scene with some ominous music and a shot of Soldier Boy with powder all over his face. Now, what do you think the significance of this shot is, with him, his nose covered in the powder? Do you think it's to display that this is a deal with the devil?
I'm not really sure. I just know that Soldier Boy he's got to be out of his mind. Probably more so than Homelander, because think about that, they've been torturing this fella for decades and have somehow, because he's one that his insides are tough while others aren't. His exile, he's a little, so he's in and out hard. And I think they did something that's made his energy blast. I don't know if that's part of his usual repertoire or if that's something that's added, or if it was his to begin with. Did they add it and make it where it's what we've seen it stripping like Kamiko of her powers, or what does it do?
Mm-hmm.
Because he seems pretty shocked by a couple, we've seen the two unintentional releases where Kimiko was hurt, and then of course where he blew up in downtown in the city somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But but when he did Crimson Countess, it seemed like he was in control there.
Yes. Yeah, it's two different scenarios, right? It's like one is involuntary and then the other one is voluntary.
Yeah, and so I'm curious if so the involuntary one, there's something in that one that's extra nasty. That strips people of their power or does something.
I think it does it regardless.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Because this episode, I'll tell you why later this episode.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Kimiko is eating a popsicle and looking at her phone while pacing in her room at the hospital. She types out, "Are you mad at me because of the kiss?" She uses the red lips emoji to symbolize the kiss. She thinks for a moment, then erases the message and types, "I'm sorry, it won't happen again." She again erases this message and writes, "Let's watch Singing in the Rain next." She smiles and sends the message.
When you watch, or I don't watch Singing in the Rain, but when you think about that song, what do you think about? I have a movie in mind. I'm sorry.
A musical.
I think of Clockwork Orange. Sorry.
Oh, I've only seen Clockwork Orange a couple times, maybe 20 years ago. It's been a long time.
It's been a while. I love that so much. I'll put it this is a funny story for me. When I got here, I found I could get his autograph. Now, it wasn't personalized, but it's official merch from him. And so I wanted this 8x10 of him with his hat, or it's got it signed across the brim. So they sent me a script from Clockwork Orange with him having signed it. And I responded. I said, "Hey, I appreciate this. This is amazing." I said, "But I asked for this," and this guy responded real quick, and they sent me the picture and told me to keep the script. So I got them framed in a place in a shadow box side by side of the script and this picture. They're both autographed by Malcolm.
Cool.
And so that movie it's an uncomfortable influence on my life. I love the violence and the music tied together. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
kind of dig it.
When I think of Stanley Kubrick movies, Full Metal Jacket, I think, is kind of it for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's the first half, sure. It's like I always turn it off before they get to Vietnam a lot of times. For me, it tends to be, I'm a huge Dr. Strangelove fan. The Shining is an absolutely amazing piece of film.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
To me, I mean, it's a wonderful movie to me. Clockwork Orange and I do love Full Metal, but it's like later on my list. Now, after that, I can't really remember. There's a few. 2001, of course, is just.
Didn't he direct Eyes Wide Shut? Was that him too?
Yes, he did. That's what he did. I think he passed after he did all the. I'm not sure if he finished all the shooting on that, but yes, that was his last movie.
That was a pretty good movie.
Okay, I never saw that one, but Dr. Strangelove is one of my favorite. He also did another great. He does a film noir movie that I think you must see. It's a huge influence on Reservoir Dogs. It's called The Killing. You can see it on Prime right now. I think it starts. It's these thugs are robbing a racetrack, a horse racing track. I think it's that or dogs. I can't remember, but it starts off with it having gone sideways. And so that's kind of the big influence on Reservoir Dogs. You ought to see it just because it's a different kind of movie. It's very more intimate than I'm used to. Kubrick has such those, the other movie. I'm sorry, the other movie I meant to bring to mind was Barry Lyndon, which is a movie I don't like because I don't like Ryan. Oh my goodness. He was the guy that was married to Farrah Fawcett for a while. I'll think of his name here in a minute. But this movie, Kubrick invented or developed a couple of filters. That movie is filmed entirely with natural light and candlelight. Because it's during the Napoleonic era, and it's the story of this ne'er-do-well. And you'd probably like it you need to watch it just because of it's a pretty movie, and the guy's unlikable, and he's supposed to be. I mean, he's a real awful person. Ryan O'Neal, that's it. Ryan O'Neal's the guy's name. So, I have a box set that came with those movies, and that and Lolita. So. There you go.
Okay.
Sorry to sorry for the Kubrick aside, but it's Kubrick. It's always worth the aside.
That was my fault.
It's cool.
I'll own that one. Kimiko gets another popsicle out of the box and begins to open it. There is a joke written on the popsicle stick. It reads, "Why did the photo go to jail?" The answer isn't shown before the scene goes on, but the answer is because he was framed.
Oh, Thank you. I thought it was going to be something about later developing. I've also heard another play on that word somehow. So that's the Polaroid joke. Why did the Polaroid go to jail? Because something developed later, I think.
I don't
Real
get it.
bad one. Sorry. Polaroids don't come out.
I know
instant.
You have to
wait.
You can flap them.
Yeah. So
flip
it
around.
develops later.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was a good joke. It's just a joke.
She looks at the joke, doesn't bother to see the answer, then begins to eat the popsicle. Looking out the windows, she can see some children playing as another patient watches them. It looks like the other patient is their grandfather. Suddenly, one of Nina's henchmen comes up from behind Kamiko and attempts to subdue her. Kamiko tries to fight back, but is unsuccessful. We are taken to MM and Starlight. It appears that MM is preparing to go into battle. He has a number of grenades and weapons arrayed on a table in front of him as he prepares. He has at least 4 pistols and a larger weapon out. I couldn't tell if it was a submachine gun or something bigger.
Right, I couldn't either.
I can also see a silencer on the table. Starlight says, "So, you think that Soldier Boy is going after the rest of Payback?" MM gruffly says, "Countess wasn't strong enough to him over on her own. She had help. Soldier Boy is just getting started." Starlight is looking at an old picture of Team Payback. She asks, "Do you know where any of them are?" MM says, "Those shady TNT twins got an address in Vermont." Starlight says, "Okay, does Butcher have it?" MM says, "No, but he'll get it." Starlight says, "I think Soldier Boy is bulletproof." In this shot, we can clearly see the wall behind Starlight. MM has a Black Panther poster on the wall that says, "Move on over or we'll move on over you." There's a panther in the middle of it.
Yep.
He also has some black and white frame photos of civil rights leaders from the era. MM responds to Starlight saying, "This ain't for Soldier Boy." Man, he is pissed at Butcher and Huey.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was this mad. I didn't realize this was for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, oh, okay.
Yeah. Pretty upset.
Yes, he is. Yes,
Starlight is surprised by his response. She sits down in a chair and says, "Look, I'm pissed at those guys too, but we have to keep our heads on." MM says, "Why? Why do I always have to take the high road? You know, when white folks get mad, y'all mother go berserk. But I got to turn the other cheek, the high road. Butcher and Huey." Starlight says, "Huey is not himself right now." MM says, "Huey is a grown man that's made his own choices."
Mm-hmm.
Starlight exclaims, "MM, please. Soldier Boy is going to kill more people. I mean, Kamiko is in the hospital. She lost her powers. Frenchie isn't answering. Alex is dead. And Maeve?" There's a long pause before she speaks again. She shakes her head and says, "We're all we've got. It's up to us." There's a long moment as MM processes what she just said. Her cell phone rings. She says and answers it. It's Ashley telling her that she is needed for something. Starlight hangs up and says to MM, "I got to go up to the tower for a little bit." MM asks, "Now?" She says, "If I don't go, they're going to know something's up. I'll be 1 hour. Do I need to worry about you?" He doesn't respond. Instead, he holds up a pistol and continues his preparation for battle. She softly says, "Okay," and leaves. I don't like seeing MM like this, but I understand why he's upset. How could he feel anything but betrayed after Butcher drugged him?
It's not just the drugging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the icing on the cake, I think. But the fact that, he lost his family over this crusade to begin with, and his ex has told him, with her blessing, "Man, go. I don't want this to kill you. I don't want it to eat you alive either. I don't want it to kill you that way either." And so he got blessing to go do this from her, which is an important step in my opinion. And it got a really good on you, Monique, because I was real proud of her for that.
Mm-hmm.
But Butcher leaving him hanging is almost the worst insult of them all.
When you say leaving him hanging, how do you mean that?
Well, just he's gone such dark. I mean, he's taken the V and taken the kid Huey with him. And Huey is grown, but he's mad. I think he may actually be more angry at Huey here also. Bullets for Butcher, anger for Huey, because Huey was gone down this path willingly as well.
Right.
And he's probably mad at Butcher for Huey following Butcher so wholeheartedly like this.
I guess so. Butcher did invite him, but MM has his line.
He does. I just don't understand how the anger is all at them, though, as it is something. I guess you're right. Butcher drug, and I'm sorry, I completely forgot about the drugging thing for a moment there. I'd be pretty livid at that as well. So
yeah, it took his agency away from him.
Yeah.
Basically took him out of the equation so they could do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, that's awful.
Knowing that he'd be upset and try and stop them or do something about it.
Yeah. And but I think the worst pain, I think, is Huey knew it too.
Yep.
Butcher, like I said, Butcher, I think he expects this kind of crap from Butcher. Butcher has no lines. We are aware of this, and everyone is aware of this. It's the kid. I think I've just reasoned myself around to realizing I think it's mostly Huey.
Okay.
Huey's dark. Huey's done the Anakin, dude.
Dark Huey.
Yeah.
We are treated to amazingly produced footage of the plains of the Serengeti. A narrator says, even the greatest trees must grow from a single seed. A-Train is overlaid in front of the footage in a pretty crappy edit. The narrator says, follow one proud black man's journey to the root of his roots as he takes the A-Train to Africa. This is pre-release footage. It says Temp VFX in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. There's also a logo for Vought Soul on the screen. Ashley is reclined on a couch in her office. She takes a pill out of a prescription bottle and pops it in her mouth as she says, A-Train barges in without knocking. Ashley quickly sits up and says, hey, it looks good. Man, there's so much strength in dignity. What does that even mean?
I have
Strength
no idea.
in dignity. I don't get it.
I think in particular it is aimed specifically at the Africans, at the Americans of African descent. You know, their quiet dignity of putting up with all the crap they've had to put up with all these years. So I think is the implication.
Okay.
From this, and it's just, but you're right, and they could. The fact is that it's to the point that everything these people say is all a bunch of catchphrases, dude. I see that at my job because I'm not management with these people, but I bump up with all the managers all the time, and they all say these catchphrases that you realize they're saying nothing. It's just that it sounds, culture is a big word. Yeah. We have culture is a new one. Ally and mentor are words that like to be spread around my community at work by the management. And just makes you just want to line them up like Larry, Moe, and Curly and just hit them once and slap all three faces with the one strike. You know what I'm saying? Pop, pop, pop,
A-Train skips the pleasantries. He crosses his arms and aggressively says, what are you doing about Blue Hawk? Ashley says, okay, first of all, everyone at Vought is just heartbroken over your brother's tragic accident. A-Train says, it wasn't an accident. Blue Hawk went ape for no reason. Ashley says, well, he said he felt threatened. A-Train says, threatened? Ashley says, A-Train says, by what? A room full of black people with no superpowers? That he has no superpowers?
Is he including himself in that statement? But the no superpowers?
Effectively, I guess that's true.
Yes.
She says, look, I've scheduled him for 12 weeks of sensitivity training. Yeah, send him to sensitivity training for assaulting a room full of people that didn't touch him. He threw the first punch. Yeah, that's great. Justice right there.
Yeah.
A-Train says, that.
Brilliant.
I want charges brought.
There it is.
Ashley says, okay, A-Train. Persecuting Blue Hawk will only make things worse. This is a time for healing. A-Train says, I don't give a I thought we got rid of the Nazis around here. She sighs and begins reaching for her hair, grabbing a hold of a good amount of it. She then says, Vought rejects racism and Nazism unequivocally, okay? Now, can we talk about this later? I have a lot going on today. Thank you. She begins to walk to her desk. A-Train says, whatever. I don't need you. I'll just ping his chip and go get his ass myself. Ashley stops walking and turns to face him. She says, no, Homelander wants everyone to present a united front right now. A-Train says, my brother is paralyzed. I want some justice. She can't believe what she's hearing. She responds, seriously? Justice? He says, yeah. She asks, you want justice? He again says, yeah. She angrily rips out a huge chunk of hair. She's actually surprised she did it. He's looking at her in shock. She says, oh. Then she looks at him and says, I have spent over 100 hours in crisis management meetings specifically figuring out how to cover up your bull, including all 3 of your straight up murders while you were out in the club with your crew or getting your toe sucked by Popclaw, who, let's not forget, you also murdered. Yeah, that's right. I know about that. You did not give a about all the collateral you caused then. Now all of a sudden you care because it happened to you. Go yourself. Yeah, that's right. I said that out loud. A-Train is shocked into silence. He nods and walks out. What is this feeling, Billy? Am I beginning to like her?
I know.
There's no corporate BS, no doublespeak, no ass kissing, straight up facts. Calling him on his hypocrisy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I love it.
I totally loved her checking A-Train. Great job, Ashley. And I just said it too. I'm not sure. Now, I hope she maintains this and learns from this moment and starts like treating the deep this way.
Mm-hmm.
We start seeing her keeping these folks in check. That'd be nice. But it has to start somewhere. And I love how I love that just straight up calling him on it. That was amazing. You heard me clapping, dude. Again, good job, Ashley. I'm impressed.
I liked it.
I did too.
We'll see if she can keep it up.
Yeah. You know she won't, but I like it for the moment. Right now, we're good. For this episode, Ashley rocks. I said it. I said it.
Well, she does have some bad behavior a little bit later.
She does. Yeah. But you know what? She's kind of earned it. She kind of earned it after being kind of hard up here. I'm like, all right, girl. I'll see. I'll sit back and see.
Okay. Homelander is walking down the hallway in Vought Tower. The Deep is walking quickly, trying to keep up with him with Cassandra in tow. The Deep says, Homelander. Homelander says, what? But doesn't stop walking or look at the Deep. The Deep nervously says, couple things. Noir, he's gone. This stops Homelander. He asks, what do you mean he's gone?
Now, this does pose a problem to my aforementioned theory.
Mm-hmm.
But there could be explanations that I care not going into, but hey, it's out there. I'm just putting it out there.
Your theory has to reconcile.
It will. Okay. I think it can. I still think it can reconcile.
If you can get all the sticking points worked out, I'll entertain the idea.
You'll allow it.
I'll entertain the idea.
Okay.
You're gonna have to sell me on it.
I know. I understand that. That's why I'm not saying anything now. I'm still open. Let me put it like this. I'm still open to my theory being correct. I'm still open to it being wrong. Just like I'm still open at some point in the future. I was hoping that the Deep would come up and be the man, but Deep is always going to be comic relief because let me tell you what, later on, this guy, Chase Crawford, I believe.
Yes.
And this guy is a hilariously good comedic actor, at least as the Deep. This guy's timing. I mean, there's some things he does and says at times here this episode that have just been like, he has been priceless on his timing. And that's a learned thing too. At first it's reading lines, but when you learn how to start doing it, it's like he's learned how to do the timing really good with the comedic side. And this episode in particular, he plays it hard and I love it.
Yeah.
He is so funny. Oh my word. He's hilarious.
Yeah. On this topic of theories, I just thought of something.
Okay.
You're familiar with the movie The Rock, right?
Yes.
Have you heard the theory that Sean Connery's character in that is actually an aged James Bond?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's like they have broken down the timelines of all the James Bond movies and when Sean Connery's character from The Rock would have been in specific locations based off conversations in The Rock. It's crazy. But that's the level of reconciliation I need from you. On your theory, because go look this up. It's crazy because all of the sticking points they actually go through and find. I think they work out almost all of them in that. It's crazy.
Okay. Well, I just want to just tell you the comic book theory so bad it's killing me, dude. I can't believe I'm really proud of myself for keeping my mouth shut this long, dude. Mm-hmm. I'm really impressed.
Yeah. At the end of this season, we might have to
I'd like to tell you
offline. Yeah.
I would like to tell you because it's killing me, dude.
Okay.
Because you're gonna understand why and everything why I'm coming up with some bizarre ideas, but at the same time, it will explain why it can't be and why I don't think it'll bother you if I told you.
Let's wait till the end of the season because they have to deal with Black Noir just running out of that elevator, and it might be in the next couple episodes. So there's only two. Dude, I just realized there's only 2 more episodes.
And I know it. I know it. We'll be announcing what we want people to want us to talk about next.
Okay. Deep says he cut out his tracking chip and holds up a Ziploc bag containing the chip. Homelander plucks the bag from the Deep's hand.
Proudly. That's a proud look, holding that Ziploc bag up in his face. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I did a thing, Daddy.
I did a thing, yes. Did something. Love him.
Homelander plucks the bag from the Deep's hand. His face is twitching and he looks confused. He says, no, he wouldn't. Not Noir. He wouldn't run. He begins to walk away. The Deep says, well, Homelander stops and says, he wouldn't do that to me. He wouldn't run. Cassandra chimes in saying, tell him what we figured out. The Deep does as he's told. He says, right.
Yes.
We think Crimson Countess was just the start. We think he's going after his whole team, including Noir. The good news is that means we know where he's probably headed next. The twins, TNT. They're the closest, Vermont. Homelander thinks for a moment, then shakes his head. He softly says, okay. The Deep says, okay, really? Homelander, thank you so much. Homelander says, shh. You go there and you check it out. Yeah. And if Soldier Boy does show up, then you call me. He again begins walking away. The Deep says, yeah, what should I tell the twins? Homelander says, I don't give a without stopping. The Deep says, got it. Cassandra takes his arm as they walk down the hall and excitedly says, babe, that was amazing. The Deep says, yeah, but, I didn't need you to jump in there like that. I had the whole thing. She stops him and says, hey. She scoffs and says, I'm just trying to help, okay? We're in this together, right? He says, okay, right. She affirms right and chuckles. The Deep walks away and she stands there watching him go. The look on her face is not one of adoration. I'm telling you, man, she's scary. Pure manipulation on her part.
Straight up manipulation.
Yeah.
Well, remember the Church of the Whatsoever, what is it, the collective? They're still covering up Alistair's death.
Mm-hmm.
So is this still Church running her?
It's a possibility.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. I mean, I'm just curious.
Well, I'm thinking about it. The Deep, he is excommunicated because Deep, you're a toxic personality. When that kind of stuff happens, I imagine you're excommunicated, but would there be any benefit to the church to have her still kind of as an implant? I guess she could be an implant in Vought, right? For the church.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It could be Vought. Nicely said. That's even better.
That hadn't occurred to me before. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So, because that'd
be great. That'd be a great storyline.
Oh,
would that be great if she was like a deep plant to sabotage Vought?
Pun intended.
No,
nice.
It was not. Oh, man.
Oh.
It's a good catch. Homelander walks up to the window in his quarters and is looking over the city as he thinks about the situation. The decor in his room is interesting. It has a White House vibe to it. There's paintings of old diplomats in golden frames littering the walls. I really hadn't noticed that before.
Very stately.
Mm-hmm.
Very stately.
There is a mirror on the wall to his left. His reflection in the mirror turns to him and says, why the long face, Tiger? What should we call this Homelander for this conversation? Dark Homelander? You cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Homelander, this is the nice Homelander, if they consider one.
Right. Nicer,
yeah. He says, what if I can't handle him? I mean, if Noir ran, Dark Homelander says, oh, you can handle him. You're the top of the food chain. Hey. When we were kids, alone in the bad room, I got us through it, right? Don't I always? Homelander says, always. Dark Homelander says, no matter what. Homelander repeats, no matter what.
So this is not new.
No, this is like a childhood manifestation. It's been there the whole time. This is the first time we're seeing it.
That's scary.
Yeah. Dark Homelander says, and now I'll get us through this, just as long as you and me stick together. Homelander asks, but what if Edgar's right? What if it was a mistake to take over Vought and I'm just talent and they all know I'm a fraud? Dark Homelander says, what do you care what a bunch of mud people think? Homelander stammers. Dark Homelander says, come on, tell me the real reason. I want to hear you say it. When Homelander doesn't respond, Dark Homelander yells, say it. Homelander says, I want them to love me. Dark Homelander says, Yahtzee. Only it never seems to work out, does it? Madeline, Maeve, Stormfront, even your own son. So why do you keep running headfirst into the same brick wall? Homelander is about to cry. He says, I don't know. Dark Homelander says, pants on fire. You know, it's because deep down, there's a part of you that is still human. Homelander says, no. Dark Homelander says, part of you is. Homelander is shaking his head. He has tears in his eyes. Dark Homelander says, a dirty, shriveled, anemic little part of you that still mules for approval and love and a mommy and a daddy and a boo-hoo-hoo. Look at me, Tiger. Look at me. We got to cut that part of you out like a cancer. And then, well, then, my boy, you can finally be who you're always meant to be. Pure, clean, like marble. I did not see a split personality coming, but it does make a lot of sense.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially to be that divided. I mean, that for many years we always misunderstood schizophrenia and thought this was schizophrenia. No, there's schizophrenia, and then it's like the hearing voices and maybe visual along with audio or what type of hallucinations. But this is a straight up, feeling like two split personality. That's called DID, the dissociative identity.
Okay,
that kind of stuff that's a really. You said you watched the first episode of Doom Patrol, right? That's where Jane has Jane's got the 64 personalities. That's what real DID does. Is it fragments people. So it's into one to, I don't know, multiples. It's a horrifically bad thing.
That's wild.
Yeah, this other stuff we've already talked about my theory about the Homeland. I'm still trying to work out the kinks.
Okay, it
does involve this straight up split, and like I mentioned, the fact of them not acknowledging Black Noir's presence. Do they ever? Yes, almost always his presence is acknowledged in some way, shape, or form, but sometimes it's not. I'm curious. Now I wonder, is Black Noir reaching for the canapes real? But we know he was really played the piano.
Yeah, he was in the Dawn of the Seven movie.
Yeah, there was somebody in the Dawn of the Seven movie. That could be anybody. Because remember, he
could have been a man in a green suit, CGI, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm just curious. Yeah, because it could be right.
Wait a second.
Not translation, but he could still be in a coma, though. It's what I've been saying. Is that Black Noir?
No.
I'm not convinced is with us. Okay.
Well, I'm saying something completely different. I just realized something. Bork said that they were going to put Translucent in a green suit. Why do you need to erase an invisible man? I guess just the person that's never mind. That's dumb. I figured out what I was. Yeah.
Well, maybe there is something that maybe film catches him in a certain way. Maybe it catches like the Predator style without bends light around him, as opposed to what they want is invisibility, because he kind of claimed he wasn't truly invisible, but the light went around him.
Yeah. Well, I guess when he could be wearing clothes, right, to look like he's there, and then they'd have to CGI the meat parts out.
Okay.
Not to be confused with instantaneous meat bits.
Right.
The meaty
or
parts.
The massage, or the menacing massage that could lead to the instantaneous meat bits.
That'd be a horrific power.
You have to give them a massage first to blow them to bits.
Maybe it activates in. We need to go on.
Move along, sir.
We are treated to an old show or movie with Soldier Boy in it. He is in a tent captive and tied to a pole. A Soviet soldier slaps him and Soldier Boy grunts. Soldier Boy says, "These people would rather die than be Soviet slaves." The Soviet soldier says, "It's too late. Afghanistan is ours." Soldier Boy says, "Wrong. It's free. And I'll stand by our Mujahideen brothers until the end." "You know what else I'll do?" The Soviet soldier asks, "What?" Soldier Boy says, "I'll distract you." The TNT twins appear and together yell, "TNT, detonate." They hold hands and shoot electricity out, launching the soldier against the wall of the tent. What a weak power. I can't imagine anyone thought those two were cool.
Now, this could be a shout out to the Super Friends, which is a terrible show that I watched because it had superheroes in it, but it had added people. And it was the Wonder Twins they had pointy ears. I thought they were kind of aliens, but they had to touch their fists together. They had rings, and they had to say Wonder Twin powers activate. And it was Wonder Twin powers activate, form of, and she would say whatever she would become was any animal she could become, and he would become water in any state.
Mm-hmm. Water in any state. So ice or
Ice,
vapor. Okay, I got
snow,
you. Okay.
vapor, water, but
Mhm.
yeah. It has to be a shout out to the Super Friends.
Mm.
That's the only thing. I didn't even dig deep because it's like I didn't even think I needed to. It's just kind of one of those. There's just not that many people that activate off each other, power wise.
In Dragon Ball Z.
I'm unaware of Dragon
Okay.
Ball. I am aware of Dragon Ball. I never watched it.
Okay.
So I'm not really aware of that. The only thing I really know is I liked a little bit of Naruto, but I'm also a Attack on Titan guy.
Mhm.
So there we go.
Gotta watch that One Punch Man.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, that's on my list. I'll start watching. I'll try that again. Now that I know how I'm supposed to take that, I read that somebody also said that maybe I think it was one of our friends that said, imagine that as a hero after the journey. It's like, what do I do now? It's like, so I think so. I'm like, oh, that makes me want to watch it now. Like thinking about it, like, oh, so he's just so completely bored because he's done it. He's like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah. The villains in that are pretty cool, man. There's some pretty crazy
I'll
stuff.
check that out.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. It'll give me something to watch tonight. I'll start checking it out. I need something to laugh at.
Present day Soldier Boy is watching this on TV in the motel room. He says, these twins, they couldn't hit their marks. Unprofessionals is what they were. Huey is holding a Geiger counter and is reading 100.15 millisieverts. Out of curiosity, I looked up a chart to determine what this equates to. Here are some notable items in the chart. I'm not going to read all of them, but a single dose fatal within weeks is 10,000 millisieverts. A typical dosage recorded in those Chernobyl workers who died within a month was 6,000.
Wow. Okay.
The lowest annual dose at which any increase in cancer is clearly evident is 100. That's what Huey's experiencing right now.
Okay.
An airline crew flying New York to Tokyo polar route annual exposure is 9. Natural radiation we're all exposed to per year, 2. And a dental x-ray is 0.01.
Wow. Okay. Nice. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Huey says, hey, Butcher's going to find them. Why don't you get some sleep? Soldier Boy says, no, I've slept enough. A commercial for Starlight diapers appears on the TV. A man is wearing a baby and carrying a briefcase in one hand and a bag of groceries in the other.
I love it.
The bottom of the screen reads, super absorbency for your super baby. The announcer says, dads, we know you love taking your babies everywhere. Who are they talking to? No matter where you go, Starlight diapers. And we don't hear the rest of it. Soldier Boy can't believe what he's seeing and asks, do men really walk around like that? Huey says, yeah. I mean, dads do. Soldier Boy says, okay, well, he chuckles and says, Bill Cosby is America's dad. And tell you one thing, he wouldn't be caught dead in that pussy gear. Huey says, lot to unpack there. Soldier Boy continues, the cause, that's a real man. He chuckles and says, holy did he make some strong drinks? Huey whispers, holy
wow.
Quick side note, someone gave me a box of books that they didn't want anymore. Inside there was a hardback book of Fatherhood by Bill Cosby. I keep it because it's so ironic.
Oh my word, that's so funny. Sometimes people can be right about certain things even when they're wrong and everything else. But hey, you know what? Those who can't do teach. You ever heard that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I looked at the description of the book on Amazon. It's pretty funny. It's kind of weird. It says, from one of America's most beloved funny men comes a hilarious look at the lighter side of fatherhood. So, what is fatherhood? It's pretending the present you love the most is soap on a rope. I don't know what that means. It's helping
you don't know what soap on a rope is, dude?
I know what soap on a rope is. I don't know what pretending the present you love most is soap on a rope. I don't get that.
Because that's the thing you give your dad, because you can never give him anything. You don't know what to give your dad, so
I get it now. Okay.
So you have to act like you're surprised and excited that you got the. So like I said, he was, man. If you ever get a chance, you need to see this. It's the stand up from he's doing it to a full house at some like big theater, and he sits in a chair and delivers. He was a comedian, so himself. It's from the 80s.
Okay. Soldier Boy gets up and refills his cup with the alcohol from the bottle, then says, but seriously, what passes as a man today? Christ on a cross. I read that we were up in Afghanistan. The is up with that. Those were the good guys. I mean, when I left, it was Huey says, yeah, you know. Soldier Boy continues on his rant saying, I mean, damn it. We were 10-1, you know? I led the 116th onto Omaha Beach. I was in the Eagle's Nest. I fought for this country. As he's getting more and more agitated, the Geiger counter is clicking faster and faster. Soldier Boy says, I fought for this country. And what did I get for it? Forgotten. Left to rot by my own team. He sits down and chuckles and says, you know, I wanted some Rugrats of my own with Countess. Yeah. Ain't that a you know, couple of little boys, raise them up to be men. Now I got nothing. Huey asks, hey, can I ask you something? What happened in Midtown? Soldier Boy says, I don't know. Huey pushes, saying, I mean, your team wasn't there, so did someone do anything or say something? Soldier Boy gets agitated and says, I said I don't know. Huey backs off and says, okay, yeah. After a pause, Soldier Boy says, I blacked out. About 10 minutes. When I came to, the damage was done. I didn't mean to hurt those people. I'm not a bad guy. Huey says, but that won't happen again, right? Soldier Boy says, only if they got it coming. The door opens and Butcher enters. He says, oi, oi. Huey points to him and says, you're bleeding. Butcher briefly looks at Huey and says, not mine. Then looks at Soldier Boy. It says, got an address. We're off to Vermont. We are treated to a scene of Butcher and Huey shooting up V-24. I hate needles, so I always hate these types of scenes.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, and the other thing is, I feel the exact same way. And I'm one of these people, I got over a big fear because I took allergy shots as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Then they weren't personally administered. I went to an office about once a month once I got used to doing it. And I did it for like so many years. But it doesn't mean I liked it. And it's always for these movies and any show, or it's always like the biggest, longest, roundest needle that we can stick it. Because everyone, even though we know it doesn't necessarily hurt, but it leads to things that can hurt or to weird things we don't necessarily want it. So I think all of us have that aversion to needles. So that's why they always do the big, round, long one for this television show.
I just don't like seeing people shoot up stuff. Yeah, but I still don't like needles either. Yeah,
I don't like seeing people shoot up either, especially it's because they're shooting up now like just casually like junkies at this point. Yeah. Or it's time. Well, it's game time. Mm-hmm. Well, beyond. I mean, at the same time, yeah. So I don't know how to take that if it's a junkie style or just we're going to do superhero stuff, so we need to be V'd up.
I think Huey's getting into the junkie style stuff.
He's probably getting into the junkie style stuff. Butcher's just wanting to get her done. I think.
Yeah. I think Huey's getting addicted to the power. He's looking for excuses to use it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either.
We are taken to Vermont. The Deep is standing on the TNT Twins' front steps speaking with them. Their house is pretty nice. It seems like some 70s Frank Lloyd Wright type of architecture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sweet. Real sweet.
The male twin, Tommy, says, Lord of the Seven Seas. Wow. My man, I'm such an incredible fan. He's wearing a robe and a gold Speedo. The female twin, Tessa, says, Tommy, slather his balls in peanut butter, why don't you? She's wearing a suggestive tight leather outfit. Tommy says, sorry, my sister is a damn The Deep says, and TNT. Right, I'm a big fan of yours too. Cool outfits. How did you like his heroic pose as he stood there saying this with his hands on his hips, putting on a good show, huh?
What does it say about these two where the Deep actually looks like the winner in the less sleazy department?
He actually looks put together.
He does. Mm-hmm. He looks great here. I love the pose, and I love him. Like I said, he's so. I pointed to this earlier. He's becoming so funny, and he's doing. You know what? I feel like the actor has now just like embraced this wholeheartedly, and like it's just like move. It's like, you know what? If I'm going to be the Deep, I'm going to be the Deep. And he's like and he's great at it, dude. I love it. I love him.
Yeah. Tommy says, always felt you got railroaded with that Starlight thing, by the way. You know, like what nowadays, you can't even pay a lady a compliment. The Deep rolls his eyes and says, I know, right? So much for all that growth and self-reflection, huh?
Oh, man, please, we know there was zero. There is zero. We know it. It's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Tessa takes a drag on her vape pen, looks at Tommy and says, you're disgusting. Tommy says to the Deep, anyway, we are just so pleased, you know, have a big star such as yourself grace our humble soiree. The Deep asks, you guys having a party? Tommy nods a bit. They walk into the house, and we can hear a crowd laughing and having a good time. There is some dance music playing. The Deep looks around and says, wait, is this? This is Herogasm. There's a really cool shot that zooms in on his face as he's realizing what he's seeing. The music increases in volume. The shot zooms in until we see a reflection of some activity in his eye, and we hear someone moaning in the background. Then it switches out of the scene. It's a pretty well done shot, I think.
It is. Yeah. The whole show's well done. Can you say? Some
episodes are better than other ones.
Well, they are, and you can sometimes see different directors' flavors. But I was speaking of weird directors' flavors. I was watching something last night, and there was like one of these, like 2 or 3 of these unnecessary cuts, and I'm like, why are we having a cut? Why is there a black spot for a moment here and here and here? Sometimes I understand it, but some directors get a little carried away, like the shaky cam and everything, or cutting when there doesn't need to be a cut, especially when there's no perceptible change in the cut. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm. Artistic license, Billy.
I know. I know.
Yep.
I'm trying.
Homelander is about to be interviewed on VNN today. He's sitting there with the host, Haley Bush. She's having her makeup touched up. Homelander's face is twitching. Starlight walks up and sits down in the seat next to Homelander. She sighs and clears her throat. He puts his hand on top of hers and says, I'm really glad you're here. I missed you. She doesn't respond. He pats her hand.
Man, he is sincere about that too. He's like lost and alone. And I think, I kind of start to feel a little bit for him in one aspect of the mental illness side of it.
The little boy one, he's really pushed down by Dark Homelander, which is his survival mechanism.
Yeah, I get it. But it's like, dude, it's really scary, especially because this one is obviously a little boy and he's desperate for her. He actually wants her there. You can see he wants her. I mean, not for anything other than just the company.
Yeah,
someone to hold his hand.
It would be interesting to go back and try to analyze when he was which throughout this series, like in significant scenes.
Well, and how many are there? First off, how many are there? Is there more than one?
You're gonna have to prove that.
No, I'm just. I'm not having to prove. I'm just asking the question. It's a valid question.
Well,
with someone,
I get that.
There might be more than one. I mean, because there's little boy. There's Dark. Is Dark Homelander the same as Million Volt Smile, who we know is a psychopath? Is that the same version? Are they all the same dude? Or is that yet another variant on a theme? There's this one, there's this guy, there's the famous easygoing version. He has literally developed into multiple personalities, and he is fracturing along the fault lines of his mind.
Okay, so let's run this scenario through. He had the Million Volt Smile up until a certain point in season 2.
Yes.
Then he had that breakdown in the hallway.
Yes.
I wonder if he had this Dark Homelander persona when he was a child, and it kind of went deep down and was hidden until that episode in the hallway.
Yeah. And the stuff with Stormfront, aggravated, and it brought things to light because that was very heavy emotional, and he doesn't have much of an emotional range. And he was, developing an emotional range in that. And she killed herself, further hurting him this season.
Yeah.
Was that this season? That was the season. That was this season, right?
Yeah, because season 2,
the girl jumps to her death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because she dies in season 2.
Yeah, she was already hurt. That's right. She gets hurt in season 2, and so she killed herself. Okay, that's right. So, and so that further aggravates the situation.
On his birthday.
Yeah. So they've been plus the constant disrespect from Stan. He's always been hammering away at different points because he obviously is aware of this stuff. People have used these as mechanisms to control him, but now that these mechanisms are falling away, it's like who's going to be in control, and which Homelander is going to be on top.
Yeah,
it's almost like that. Remember, it's like the Kingdom Come. Remember that wasn't that. Remember Billy Batson / Shazam working for Lex?
It's been so long since I read it. I don't even remember that part of the story.
That's all that I remember was the bodyguard. We couldn't put our finger on why the bodyguard is so familiar. Why does Lex have such a powerful bodyguard? And where is Superman all this time? And it turns out, that the bodyguard is actually Shazam, who's been enslaved to Lex for however many years.
Okay.
So that's all I remember.
Oh,
that's all I really
vaguely
remember.
remember that. Okay. Yeah.
That's about all I really remember. I need to go back and read. I have that hardback somewhere.
I have it too.
I thought
maybe we should go
so
through
I need
it.
to check that out. Yeah, let me
We
dig
should
it
do
up.
an episode on it.
That's because absolutely.
That's one that I always thought would be an excellent. If they made a movie of that, it wouldn't even have to be canon. It could be just some offshoot movie, one off.
Well, dude, that's why I love. This is why I'm such a huge Watchmen fan. A lot of people don't care for that. I love it. I love the director's cut. I love all cuts of Watchmen. It's fantastic. It covers it. It does what I want. It's standalone. It's not canon. It's DC. It's weird and wild and trippy and violent and everything I love. And but we need something like that. Because that's what that is. It's not necessarily. I don't even know if that's canon. That was always. I think that was Elseworlds. So if it's Elseworlds, that's always like the what if. So that would be a brilliant movie, a brilliant play on something.
Yeah.
You're right. It would be magnificent.
Yeah, it'd be so good to see. We're gonna plan for doing an episode on that. I think we should be able to get through in 1 or 2 episodes.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, on this same set, real quick, there's the other one because I just started something here. Akira.
Yeah.
Have you ever did you ever read Akira? No. Did you ever want to read Akira?
To be honest with you, I haven't read a lot of manga. Like I'm slowly working my way through the One Punch Man manga.
Here's my thing. I didn't think I would like it, Kamran, but this is one of the finest graphic novels I've ever read in my life. I don't care that you got to read it backwards.
No, that's not an issue for me.
But what I'm saying is that I found this beautiful box set. It's five volume omnibus of the entire thing, and it is amazing. Because I love the anime, and it's confusing because they tried to do the Dark Tower to it.
What do you mean by that?
To try and cram 5 volumes, we're talking like 700, 800, 1,000 pages of manga into a 2.5 hour show. I mean, dude, you just can't do it. You can cover some really great points that made Akira amazing and intriguing to me, but I just, like I said, I was always kind of wanting to read it. I found a good deal. It's a beautiful box set. And I've just been like, man, I've been reading it every night, late at night. And it's amazing. It's just gorgeous. First off, it's just beautiful. It's not really crazy looking. It's one of those kind of art styles that's really, it's graphic and violent when it's just now starting to get crazy, but the style is some of the most beautiful, cleanest work, and it's black and white. So, and I just, for some reason, love that. It resonates with me in a really weird way, and I've enjoyed it. So, I was just curious because if you ever wanted to, I'd get you the set for a Christmas gift and let's just read it together. But that'd take us a year.
Oh, is that long?
Just because it looks like it's going to be. I think they're about 200 or 300 apiece. So, yeah, almost about 1,000 pages of manga here is what it is. Yeah, it's an undertaking.
Yeah,
but so far it's been like, whoa, it's been really good. Cool. The Nerdgentia would really appreciate us. Even referencing Akira should get us some points with those fellows. So, that's my peeps on that stuff. So they'll love us for that. It's great. I did do that, a picture of that box set on Instagram. I said I was starting this, and one of the Fries people that told me to tell you hi, by the way, says, "Sick, dude." It's like so happy that I was starting to read Akira. I'm like, this 50-something-year-old guy's going to start reading Akira. That's awesome.
Yeah, nice. Starlight sees the empty chair next to her and asks, "Who's joining us?" Haley asks, "They didn't tell you?" Victoria walks in and says, "Hey there," smiling. That was a shock. She sits down next to Starlight. Starlight takes a moment to get in character, then smiles and says, "Hey, lady." There's no further conversation. We hear a bell ring. Starlight says, "The mayor can say anything she wants, but Homelander is the one working to catch the guy." Homelander nods and says, He's holding Starlight's hand. Starlight says, "We're about to turn a corner here." Homelander says, "Absolutely we are. Thank you, honey." She smiles and says, "Of course, sweetheart." Haley nods and says, "That's reassuring." Homelander chuckles. Haley goes on, "But there are 19 dead and dozens wounded. Congresswoman Newman, what do you say to the Americans who are watching right now and feeling scared?" Victoria says, "Yeah, look, it's understandable." Homelander doesn't let her finish. He interrupts, asking, "What kind of a nasty question is that?" Victoria says, "Oh, no, it's fine. I'm happy to answer. Homelander is undeterred. He says, Starlight just said, and I keep saying, this is not a problem. Haley says, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean. Homelander looks at her and says, I don't have time for your mediocre ambush. Your job is to report facts, not attack us when we sit here and tell you the truth. The American people, they know. They know when someone's telling them facts, and they know when the media is lying to them. He turns and looks directly in the camera and says, there is no problem. It is safe to go out, period. You know what? We're done here. He stands up and rips off his microphone. He whispers, stupid hack, and storms off. Victoria and Starlight are both silent. Haley takes a moment to kind of recenter herself. Then she says, up next, Chuck makes empanadas with Rachel Ray. We'll be right back. A woman on set yells, and we're clear.
Far out.
Yeah, empanadas sound delicious right now.
Sound pretty groovy. Yes, they do.
A woman on set yells, and we're clear. And a bell rings. Ashley storms up to Haley and says, you amateur. The next report you're going to be doing is inside my asshole, you piece of This is the behavior I was talking about earlier when she kind of backslid a little bit, in my opinion. Because telling Adrian off's one thing, but this Haley chick didn't do anything wrong, you know?
Well, the ambush question is going to really trigger Homelander, which is in track is going to wind up on her. So
yeah, but
she's just, you're right. Mm-hmm. She doesn't deserve it, but it's a cutthroat world, apparently. But if you're up in that food chain, hey, they're all swimming with sharks there at that point.
Yeah. Victoria grabs Starlight's attention and asks, hey, you free for a little catch-up? Starlight says, you know what? I'm a little slammed right now. Victoria says, oh, come on. 10 minutes won't kill you. Inside Starlight's quarters, they are both popping the tops on cans of Pamplemousse Lacroix sparkling water. Pamplemousse. That's grapefruit for the uninitiated.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. You covered that. Sorry.
I hear you have tried Lacroix now. What are your thoughts?
I did. I actually dug it. I'm not a person to drink a lot of the sparkling waters, but there was something going on at the place I worked, and it was a beauty event, and so we provided a Lacroix, and they had mango, and I wish I could remember what the other flavors were. I want to say probably it's melon. Sound right?
I'm not familiar with all of their flavors.
Yeah, but it was a lemon. I was wanting a lime, but they had lemon. And I liked it. It was far. So I'm kind of getting to where I like a little bit of sparkling water. So, and it's kind of made me think about this. You know how you can buy the thing of the lemon juice. Mm-hmm. They do the lime juice as well. Mm-hmm. Little bulb of that. It's like, get that and get you some Lacroix bottled water, and hey, just straight up and put your own lime juice in there, or do it Mr. Edgar style. But Mr. Edgar didn't do it himself. Yeah. He had someone did it.
Yeah, I did it Mr. Edgar style. Squeeze right. the lime juice. Yep.
It looks really good though. But I really did enjoy it though.
Was it really delightful?
I could say it could be close, because what I think I've discovered, while for me lately, since I've talked about losing some weight. Now, some of this is not intentional necessarily, but I love Coca-Cola, and I love the bite of the carbonation. Mm-hmm. I think that's what in Coke, everyone talks about the real acid burn. It's not, there's no acid burn to Coke. It's that bite from that carbonation, I think. And so I think I like that bite a lot in the water I drink now. I mean, so I'm kind of like, that's kind of cool. So it kind of mimics a part of it that I really enjoy from a drink anyhow.
Right.
But it's got that little hint. So I would like to put my own lime in there, because I would go a lot heavier with the lime, not just super heavy, but I'd go heavier. Well, give it a good zing, a little bit more flavor. But yeah, I dug it though. Cool. I really dug it.
Yeah. The lime flavor is really good.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that.
Victoria says, hey, so where's Huey? Starlight says, oh, he's just camping with his dad for a couple of days with a broken arm, apparently. Victoria laughs and says, okay, right. Okay, good. Oh, great. I thought he was avoiding me or something, because he was scared I was going to pop his head. Now, this one was another big surprise for me.
Oh, yeah. I did a big moment on that one, because it was a real big startle for me.
Because she goes from being so cordial to serious in the middle of that sentence. Starlight is in the middle of taking a sip of Lacroix. She swallows and says, Victoria is serious now. She says, come on, Annie. Starlight's eyes begin to glow.
Annie needs to quit broadcasting when she amps up. that may be a drawback to her power, but I figure there's got to be a way for her to not, you know what I'm saying? It's like every time she does it, it's like everyone's like, put them away. It's like, you know, it's like, got to surprise somebody sometime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what other alternative she has.
Well, I think she could bust out a quick energy blast on her real fast.
She does that to Huey later this episode. You know,
yeah. So I think she could do that without showing in her eyes, possibly. Maybe not.
But then we wouldn't get her to see her looking all cool.
And I think she looks absolutely amazing with that.
But you do have a good point.
Yeah. It's very it's a weak spot. It's like it's not as bad as a almond joy or a tree nut allergy, but you know, it's just kind of broadcasting. It's worse in the dark, you know, in an unlit room. So
Victoria says, "Put them away. I'm not going to hurt you or Huey or your families. Besides, you'd lose." Now, when she just dismisses her like this, it got me thinking, who can Starlight beat? And this is a legitimate question. Because she always seems weaker than the other members of the Seven. Maybe the
Think about this. There is the fact that her, Maeve, and Kamiko whooped a woman who can flick a jumbo jet out of the way.
It's 3-on-1, though.
Okay. It is 3-on-1, but that's not a small feat. Now, I know Maeve is probably the predominant muscle, followed by Kamiko, but Annie, we know, was casually curling the front end of their car. I have no idea what kind of strength level now, because the thing is here is if Victoria can get the drop. If she doesn't get the drop on her, Annie could, if it was just one of these things and they were just still talking and she walked over and popped her in the face, and with that knock her unconscious, she did seem pretty tough in that fight with that fella, but they might be the same just kind of strength level. Moderately enhanced, like the Captain America effect. Okay, let's just call it for that. I'm not going to dub it. I'm not going to worry about dubbing a whole thing. It's Weapon 1, but that's like the premier example of what you're shooting for. Minus everything else, he is this. He is a great fighter. He's a great this, that, and the other. She seems to have that kind of upgrade. Victoria might, because of that fight with that fella that was calling her Nadia. I can't remember that fella. Is it Anthony? Tony, I think. So yeah. Anthony. So that seemed to be a pretty tough physical fight. I mean, not Homelander or Stormfront, but I don't know if she would be in the same. Like I said, minus her head popping ability and minus Starlight's powers, 1-on-1, it might be a pretty close battle, and who knows how to fight better.
I mean, all Vicky has to do is just look at her. That's a huge liability.
Yeah. Like I said, but if we minus that, like if you took away not Annie's, but not using her Starlight abilities, but just her enhanced everything else, and Vicky with her just enhanced everything else minus her power on a fight with each other, I think it would be really close. And I think it would be a matter of knowing who's stronger. And now using their powers, a question I have about Vicky's, does her power only work on living things, or is it like Cindy's powers, who can work on living things and inanimate objects like metal doors?
We haven't seen any evidence of that. So.
It seems to be a flesh. Yeah. And so I'm just curious. I'm just asking the question.
Okay. So who else in the Seven can Starlight beat? She got whooped by Homelander. Well, Homelander can bully her, right?
Homelander can whoop anybody. I'm assuming he can whoop everybody.
He fought her, right? And she needed help.
And was whooping her hard. Yeah, but he also, if she was ambushed in that one too, and he took her completely by surprise. And she had just escaped from that cell, didn't she?
She did.
So there was a lot of things going on there. I'm not really sure.
A-Train.
Where it's not been.
She got whooped by A-Train.
She got whooped by A-Train, but
his heart gave out.
A-Train, his heart gave out. So, just real curious. We're not. She's not. I don't think she's really begun to examine. That's what she should be doing here, is examining what she could be doing here at the Seven. But she's too busy playing politics. She can't do anything else but do this, because it's a full-time gig. Keeping Homelander kind of in front of you.
Right. Okay. Starlight asks, then why are you here? Victoria says, because I want to help you. Starlight says, help. From the psycho who blew up Congress. Victoria says, look, most of those guys passed around deep fakes of me on the house floor blowing bin Laden, so I'm not exactly overwhelmed with sympathy. Annie, you need me. You're all alone. I mean, come on. That hashtag homelight, that looks like you're in a hostage video. Blink twice if I'm wrong. And what, you got to play nice with the guy that throat you on your first day of work. And Maeve, they say Maeve is in rehab, but you and I both know she's probably dead. I'm all you got. Come on, Annie. You and I were friends. None of that has changed for me. That deepfake thing had me laughing. I was thinking, does the government not honor its own laws for a hostile work environment? Us peasants have to go through annual training reminding us of what the rules are, and we can be held liable if we act this way. But no, the government doesn't have to worry about that.
I always presume that it's always do as I say, not as I do with most government. Well, let's just say with all government agencies. The thing with her, it's like, so the guys showed you some pictures of you and Bin Laden deepfake, so it's worth killing half of these guys for. Yeah, they're pieces of trash, and I think they should have some term limits, but I don't think you should have executed them on the floor.
It is a little extreme.
A little extreme.
Yeah, so as a justification.
Maybe she has some. Yeah, maybe she has some anger issues as well. So,
Starlight asks, "Are you ever going to get to the point?" Victoria says, "You have 193 million Instagram followers. Lend me your influence, and I'll lend you mine. I can protect you from Homelander. You'll finally be team captain for real. And in return, you help me goose my numbers. I can finally get my education reform bill passed. We can make things better, Annie. For my daughter, for a lot of daughters. Come on, what do you say?" Now, again, I come to the idea, how can anyone protect anyone from Homelander? You'd have to be an idiot to think that someone could. It's an empty promise. Hell, Victoria didn't even believe Mr. Edgar when he told her he could protect her from Homelander.
Well, I know it. And this is the scary thing for me. I think about this show. We don't know what Homelander is even really capable of. We don't see him really do much. I mean, his feats of strength that we've seen have been relatively minor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like small things of which he's relied so much on the heat vision more than even physical contact with people. So I don't even know what this guy's capable of. I mean, now this is what I love.
Really seen...
I know we get some. I love that it's coming, but
we haven't really seen any feats of strength from him.
No.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't seen him lift anything or move anything off anybody.
No. He crushed a guy's head and he lasers a bunch of guys in half, and he throws that guy real far. Punches a fist through a guy.
That's about the best example of his strength is, and when he throws the baseball and it just like goes out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I mean, you know, and he fights he shows up at the end of season 1 at the Hello Boys with the SEAL Team 6 kind of fellows going in on that drug on those fellows.
Season 1, episode 8. Yeah.
Yes, and he goes in and busts that up, but even then it's like 90% heat vision, one head crushing, and then scything another guy in half as he's running away. So,
yeah.
Wow, I can't believe I was that specific in that. I nailed it.
Yep. Another thing that struck me when Victoria was saying this, she answered the question of whether she's still a House member. She still is because she has a bill, but she's somehow also in charge of the FBSA, and I don't know how that works. I also thought the House members were on the phone fundraising 4 hours a day. Now, they complain about how much they have to do it. All of them.
Well, I mean, is that part of the description? I mean, I ask that legitimately. That may be part of what they do. I don't know.
That's what they do. They spend so much time fundraising. Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was subordinates to that kind of stuff, or I'm sure that
literally they're on the phone begging for money from people.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Even the big fellows. Like the higher ups.
Yeah, I don't know if Nancy Pelosi's doing it.
That's what I'm getting.
She's probably talking to higher level people at this point.
That's what I'm guessing. Is that like what I was wondering is that if you're a lower level person, you do a lot of that flesh pressing through the phone. You know, I'm talking about this, talking to people, handshaking,
yes.
And but then the higher you get up the food chain, it's like your subordinates can do it, and then you deal with the folks that are really these are the people that used to come begging at Trump's his desk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so no matter what they say, they all came to feed at that table. So, so like it or not, you know, that's the thing that it's so funny. I think so funny. Yeah.
Starlight says, "You're right. This whole place. I'm so tired of listening to people tell me I need to be in order to win. You and Homelander and bot and this whatever it takes crap. You're just going to end up sitting on top of the steaming pile of that you built. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore." Victoria says, "You're not going to be doing anything if Homelander kills you. Starlight says, yeah, maybe, but then I'll know I'm not working with a nut job. So either pop my head or get the hell out. Victoria stands up and slowly walks towards her. She stops when she's standing right next to her and stares at her for an uncomfortable amount of time. The soundtrack plays into the tension here.
Mm-hmm.
Then the noise stops and Victoria's demeanor changes. She says, hey, keep this between us. It'd be really tough to take out America's sweetheart, but not impossible. She smiles, then walks out. Starlight is left standing, and we can see a trickle of blood coming out of her nose. Now, this scene right here, I loved the tension in here, the dialogue, and most of all, I loved Starlight's speech.
Yes, great, and great scene all the way around. I love these. I like the everything's out in the open kind of stuff, and it's great job, Starlight too. I love her speech too, very much so.
Yeah.
Just had enough. I've had enough. But the problem with Starlight, she's given this speech 3 times now, isn't she?
Now that I think about it,
I'm not trying to be a jerk.
Season 1.
Yeah.
Right at the Believe Expo. Yeah. What was the second one?
It's somewhere just in season 2. She's just tired. She's always tired of having to, she expresses the same sentiment, I think, almost exactly to the same thing somewhere in season 2. I'm sure it's probably on the road trip with them, Em and Huey, somewhere in there, or something that brings them back together or whatever. But I believe it's the exact same sentiment as expressed. I'm beginning to think that her character lives to express this as her sentiment. And it's like, I get it. I mean, I'm with you, sister. I'm tired of you being the only one in that bunch too. But you've dug in. My big concern is I forget. I even forgot to ask at the end when we get to the end. It's like, where's Maeve?
Yeah, we need to see some closure on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty scared about that. I'm pretty worried about that girl.
Yeah,
because I'm really liking where she's going. And Starlight. I think I've heard that from her before more than once. So I may be wrong. Hey, if I'm wrong, let me know. Reach out, contact at HorseFrogProductions.com, folks.
We appreciate hearing from everybody.
Man, you better believe we do.
I was thinking, I think when she's giving these speeches, the tone is a little bit different. It's not the tone. The message is a slightly different every time. What she's railing against changes over time. Because this time, this is slight but measurable. Because now she's saying there's no more whatever it takes. She's drawing the line morally, right? And she's saying, I'm only going to do the things that I think are right.
Right.
And
I said, I could have sworn she said, but like I said, the Believe Expo, that's the exact same thing. I mean, there is no difference between that and this speech. I'm tired of being told what to do. I'm going to do what's right. And this is me. And she's going to give the same speech at the end of she kind of does the same thing at the end of the episode.
Okay.
And I'm not, this is not Starlight's problem. This is the writer's problem.
Yeah. Okay. Kamiko wakes up in a haze. She is, this is a tough scene right here. This was emotionally taxing.
Yeah. Yeah. This was harsh.
She's handcuffed in a chair. We can see that she's sitting next to Cherie in an abandoned warehouse. Cherie is also handcuffed to a chair. She says, I'm so sorry. Nina bursts into the room with 2 henchmen in tow. They are escorting a naked and beaten Frenchie. They get a bike lock, one of the U-shaped ones, and secure Frenchie to a pillar in a standing position. And this is one of the pillars that is kind of like a
corrugated. You have it in that kind of corrugated steel building.
It's a grid.
Support.
Yeah, it's like a triangular grid pattern. So he can't move up and down. He's stuck standing with his neck face forward, locked to this pillar. That really, I did not like that because it just really bothered me.
Well, it bothers me too because it's the reverse of the season episode. It's season 1, episode 2 of Breaking Bad, but opposite. With the kid in the basement in Jesse's basement.
Yes, yeah.
But he's got it around the front of his neck. This is the exact opposite way. You'd have to stand and hug that pillar if you didn't have your hands secured, and his hands are secured in front of him, and he's had to hug up against that pillar.
Yeah.
So it's a double, and he's already beaten to pieces. It looks like they've been working on him for a while. Fritchie seems to be a particularly hard fella. No, and I'm not trying, just mean, tough, ornery.
All the scars.
They're going to address his toughness. Yeah. We're going to address this. So yeah, go ahead.
When Frenchie sees Cherie and Kamiko, he begins begging Nina. Nina walks up to Frenchie, then addresses the women, saying, his body is a masterpiece, no? She walks up and points to a scar on his back and says, do you know the story behind this one? Oh, years ago, my cousin Kolya went state's witness, so I send my Sergey. Not even 3 bullets could stop my attack dog. She runs a finger over a scar on the back of his head and says, bar fight on the Basque coast. He started it. She caresses a scar on his knee and says, oh, my beast, this is my favorite. When Sergey was 14 years old, he dropped a glass. His father told him to kneel in the shards and not move until he said so. Little Sergey did not shift an inch, not even after his father left to get drunk and pass out in the whorehouse. A tear rolls down Cherie's cheek. Nina says, oh, please, don't cry for Sergey. He likes to be told what to do, and he loves to be punished when he's bad. Makes him hard. Nina nods to a henchman who walks over to stand between Cherie and Kimiko. He gets out a pistol and points it at Kimiko's head. Nina says, so, Cherie? Frenchie says, no. Nina says, or Kimiko. Frenchie says, no, don't do it. Don't do this, Nina. Nina says, you must choose, Sergey. If not, I will kill both of them. And when you finish screaming, crying, I will kill you too. Cherie is praying in French. Kimiko is working on picking the lock on her handcuffs with the popsicle stick she somehow kept after being kidnapped in the hospital. Nina prods him again, saying, choose. Frenchie says no. Kimiko has unlocked the handcuff. The henchman shoots, but Kimiko is able to dodge the shot. She slashes his neck with the open cuff. Nina drops her cigarette as the henchman falls to the ground. The man with the slashed neck has fallen on top of Kimiko. The other henchman unloads a bunch of shots from a pistol into the body of the man that's laying on top of Kimiko. Frenchie is yelling, no. Nina is still watching this play out. Cherie is fighting her bonds. The man that was shooting walks over and kicks the body off of Kimiko. She doesn't respond. Frenchie begins yelling. Kimiko suddenly surges into motion and bites the man's leg. The man punches Kimiko and puts both hands around her neck and begins to squeeze. Kimiko manages to grab one of his fingers and breaks it. The man screams. Nina sees the gun on the ground and begins to walk towards it. Cherie manages to break the back of the chair and lunges forward, knocking Nina down. The man with the broken finger grabs Cherie and slams her head against a 55-gallon drum. This takes her out of the fight. Kimiko gets up. Frenchie yells at her to run. The man punches her twice, and they are hard hits. Yeah. He then lifts her up and throws her against a metal shelf. The man grabs her feet and drags her back, then punches her in the face again. He puts one hand on her throat, then takes the other hand and punches her in the abdomen where she's wounded over and over again. The sound it makes is terrible. I think he punches her 10 times. It's reminiscent of Butcher killing Gunpowder.
Yeah. Maybe she has some toughness. I know adrenaline counts for something, but dude, she's what, 110 pounds wet, soaking wet. Yeah, this guy's minimal. This Russian Uzbek looking fellow looks like he's 250 minimal, on top of her. So, I mean, punching her like that, I mean, he's got to be breaking ribs. I mean, he got to break every one of her ribs, I would have thought, the way he's hitting her on that one side. Because he's so much so that there's blood soaking through her shirt.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The noise was just atrocious.
But the fact that doesn't, well, she, like I said, that's so maybe something is intact in her that's kept her alive from that, because that should have killed her.
Yeah. Well, at least cause enough internal bleeding to have her die at some point. Not immediately, maybe, but shortly thereafter.
Pretty short time after.
Yeah. Frenchie is yelling the whole time this is happening. Kimiko sees a metal spike and grabs it, then stabs the man in the leg. It looks like she got him in the femoral artery because blood is just gushing out of this wound. He falls to the ground screaming. She gets up and gets on top of him. She begins stabbing him over and over in the chest with the spike. I counted 17 stabs. By the end, she is covered in blood. Frenchie yells, Moncour, she's gone. Nina's gone. It's over. Frenchie says it's over.
Dude.
Kimiko begins to cry.
I was jacked up on adrenaline after that scene. What a great episode. But were you? I was like,
it was very stressful.
Real stressful. I was like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. The brutality of it was difficult to get through.
It was.
She was slashing the guy's neck open, and then the punches to the abdomen, the noise was horrendous. Yeah. But then, like, when she finishes him with that spike, just that whole thing was rough all around. Yeah. Plus, the way they were treating Serge.
Well, it's because we love these people. In particular, Kimiko and Serge.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm not a big fan of Cherie, but
Cherie.
She started out cool, but then she got them in trouble. So
got them in trouble.
Hard to sympathize with that.
Got them in trouble with these psychos. Yeah, it's like they.
Yeah.
I get.
MM and Starlight are on their way to Vermont. They're driving. Starlight sees him tapping his finger on the steering wheel. She asks, "Have you always had that?" He says, "I don't know what you're talking about." She looks at him. He looks at her, then sighs, then says, "I grew up in Harlem. Brownstone filled with family. Grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins. One night there was a ruckus outside. I looked out the window and it was Soldier Boy. He had pulled up on some kids that were trying to boost a Benz. And so I run and wake up my granddad. 'Grandpa, it's Soldier Boy. Come look.' Soldier Boy takes the Benz and he hurls it through our house like a freight train. It missed me by about 6 inches. And my grandpa, one minute he was there and then he wasn't. And I woke him up. I put him in that spot." Starlight says, "That is not your fault." MM says, "That's when this whole OCD started. I mean, I don't understand it. All I know is that if I didn't check the burners 3 times a night, Soldier Boy would come back and kill the rest of us. And I'm still that kid, still getting up in the middle of the night, checking the burners. Because if I don't, Soldier Boy's going to come back. And he's going to kill my family. I got to get this mother out of my head and end this, or it'll end me." As he's saying this, he begins to cry. It was really powerful. And I really sympathize with him.
Yeah, I do too. That hurt. I feel really bad for him. I get it.
His delivery was excellent too.
Oh, it was amazing, dude. I really felt that. You know, we've got a big answer on both him and Frenchie this episode too. The Frenchie kind of reveal. We still have way more to go on Frenchie as far as I'm concerned, but there's a lot revealed there. And who he is, and I like these little peeks at him.
What you're talking about, the scars?
Well, just his scars and his, like, you know, this Nina backstory that's obviously there, and obviously he did work for her, and the same kind of work that Kimiko did that he was warning her not to do for probably little Nina. I'm assuming that's who she's been working for. Kimiko might have been doing those hits for her, you know, in the long run that we just didn't know it.
She said it was for some other people, wasn't it?
She said it was just for some group. I couldn't remember who it was, but
Belarusians or no, I can't remember.
Okay, yeah, maybe it was Belarus, but anyhow,
they have arrived at the TNT twins' house. MM uses the door knocker. After a moment, the door opens. They don't see anyone. Suddenly, a familiar-looking tentacle creeps out of the door. Starlight says, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." MM says, "Oh, hell nah." Starlight again says, "Oh my God." The owner of the tentacle walks up and says, "Invitation?" MM says, "I got your invitation right here." He immediately reaches behind his back to pull a pistol out of his waistband. Starlight stops him. The man recognizes Starlight and says, "Starlight, I did not even recognize you. Come in. You are more than welcome to party." She asks, "Party?" The man says, "Yeah, the 70th anniversary of Herogasm." MM says, "Me." Starlight says, "Oh." Then the tentacle creeps into view behind her. She turns and says, "Oh." The man looks at MM and says, "You seem familiar." I bet he does. MM almost got choked out by that tentacle at the Sage Grove detention facility.
A little too familiar there, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. MM says, "You about to get familiar with these hands if you don't get this mother love sausage away from my damn face." The man says, okay. You are not soup."
I love that accent. I'm assuming it's Russian or Russian-ish. You are not soup.
MM says, "I'm with her for the party." Starlight says, "Yeah, no, he's very good at cunnilingus. Yeah, his tongue is just, yeah." The man nods and says, "Oh, yeah?" Starlight continues, "He just gobbles that vagina right up. Nom, 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 nom." MM says, The man says, "Love sausage, huh? This is a good name for me. I like it. Come on in." They enter, and we begin to see where all this noise is coming from. There are lots of people in various states of undress all over the place. Some are mingling, some are actively in the middle of some activity.
Thank you.
We see a floating Starlight feminine pleasure utensil humming as it's flying around the room.
I thought I recognized that one from someone being stabbed by it in the Russian oligarch scene. What was that, 2 episodes back or 1 episode back?
2, I believe. Yeah.
That's one. Whenever she was hurt, whenever Kimiko was hurt was that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
A naked woman walks by and catches MM's eye. He nods at her. A naked man walks by. When he sees Starlight, his eyes light up green. When the man is out of earshot, quietly says, all right, so once a year, a bunch of C-listers get together at one of their places to get they wicks wet. Behind them on a shelf, there is a box set for the TNT Super Stage. It's seems to be an action figure play set.
Yes.
Based on what I could see. There's a woman sitting on top of a man. She has him wrapped in some rope that is glowing red. Is this some type of psychic manifestation?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Starlight says, Herogasm. I get it. Says, There's a man that keeps yelling, holy ass ramming. I'm not going to go too deep into what's happening there.
Pun intended.
The Starlight feminine utensil finally finds a home. Starlight sees this and says, ew. We get a shot of a man using psychic powers to pleasure a number of women at the same time. I think it's 4.
Okay.
In the background, we hear a woman say,
you have to understand, I'm working really hard to not focus. I'm leaving the excruciating details to you at this point. I'm trying to focus just on them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm a Christian. I have a hard time watching some of this stuff. So I'm like kind of trying to look up until we get to the parts where they're talking. I'm like, okay, I can look right at them when they're talking.
Yeah, looking for the detail in this was
very uncomfortable. It's well done. It's really, it's very uncomfortable. It's still a great episode, but it's like I shouldn't be saying that about this episode because there's some other things that factor in that make it so. But this is funny. I mean, oh my word, it's so well done, and they're as uncomfortable as we are.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's what's funny about it, I think.
In the background, we hear a woman say, come on my hump. Don't want to know what's going on there. They see a man with some electricity arcing between his nipples as he's doing his business. I can't tell if it's a contraption or somebody's using their powers on him. As they walk through the party, says, poor Frenchie. Man, he always wanted to see this. He's going to be heartbroken.
I love that comment, dude. And then Frenchie are close again. It's like, oh, and it's genuine too. It's like, man, it's like, poor Frenchie, man. I always want to see it. And it's like, it's genuine, man. I love it.
Yeah. It's funny that he thinks of him in this moment.
Right? Do we all have that friend who's like the porno obsessed guy or something like that?
I don't know, man. I think it's getting pretty bad nowadays.
I think it is, apparently.
Yeah.
Because it's just right there everywhere.
A naked man walks by and his junk is on fire. Not sure how that's going to be useful.
Nope.
They see a male soup on a spinning bed kneeling in front of a prone woman. He conjures an ice utensil. It is large and it seems spiky. Now, we had mentioned this guy previously. He's kind of the Iceman type character. I forget what his name was, but this is the scene that he shows up in this season.
It was like we mentioned Stacker and some other people when they were getting somebody in trade for termite or something. And it was
this guy was one of them.
Yeah, and it was one of them. So it was Stacker and somebody and somebody from Payback that we recognize. I couldn't remember who it was, but it wasn't Swato, but it was like somebody else. But his name was mentioned at some point. We'll figure it out, I guess. Cold Snap.
Cold Snap. That's this guy's name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Says, you know what's up? Starlight says, says, it's that it's real sex workers here getting banged up and not in the good way.
This is kind of what I was referring to in the comics about, and even Mr. Edgar had referred to this to Dakota Bob about the covering up a bunch of bad things that happen to the prostitutes here.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not deem that as a worker. I'm sorry. I don't like prostitutes having to turn to prostitution. I think they're victims a lot of times, but I've never liked this idea of like, well, they're sex workers getting mad. It's like they're prostitutes. I'm sorry.
It's just rebranding.
It is. I don't like that rebranding. I refuse the rebrand. So,
okay. The man then plunges the ice utensil into the woman and she screams in pain. Says, not that these soups give a about hurting the sex workers.
Yeah.
Prostitutes, whatever you want to call them.
Anybody.
Starlight says, when Soldier Boy gets here, it's going to be a slaughter. We have to get these people out. Suddenly, Termite grows to full size next to He's covered in fluid. He runs into as he walks by and says, what up, bro? Looks at his jacket and freaks out. He says, what the did this mother put on my jacket? Starlight says, oh my God. Okay. Says, it's my favorite jacket. Charlotte says, let's go find a bathroom. Has what appears to be a wet wipe, and he's trying to clean the sleeve on his jacket with it. He says, some nasty shit.
It's a lot of it, too.
It is,
it's a
yes.
lot.
Starlight repeats, let's go find a bathroom. Says, this shit is sticky. Starlight is trying to escort him out of the room and says, let's go clean it up. Let's go. Says, what the is this? Now, I love how much this affects him. He's so professional, but when he breaks down, as soon as he has to deal with something like this, like he's just freaking out.
He keeps it together better than I would have, though, I think. I don't know. I'd be like, oh my goodness. That's rough.
A waitress walks by with a platter of sushi and asks, yellowtail sashimi? Starlight says, no, not in the mood for that. Thanks. They have arrived at a large set of doors. Opens them up just as a man yells, throwing ropes. Is covered from head to toe in male you-know-what. The man says, wow. Lick it up, you yummy brown bear. Slowly closes the door. Starlight has her hands over her mouth in shock. Takes his fingers and cleans. He takes his index fingers and he cleans the fluid that has run into each of his eyes, and then he kind of slops it off to the side. And he looks at Starlight and says, I can't. I need a bathroom right now. Poor
Calmer you are. I'm sorry. Calmer than I am for sure.
Man. And he's like a germaphobe, right? So,
yeah, because he was talking about moving all the dirt, moving the germs around
just
the Starlight
wiping it around. Yeah, you have to use wet
the
wipes.
Dry wiping. Yes, it's the wet wipes. But it's like, oh my gosh, and he's just and it's not like it's a little bit covered him head to foot. It's like they dropped it. This is more than all the blood that Huey's been covered with in the entirety of the show.
It's like one of those Nickelodeon slime shows.
Yeah. But like it's like a completely 50 gallon. Yeah, it's like a 55-gallon drum of this is poured upon this poor man.
Yeah. Huey is looking through some binoculars and is watching a woman suit pleasure another woman with her tail out by the pool. Huey says, "Oh, okay, so this is an actual orgy. That's what this is." Butcher says, "Herogasm. Still a thing, eh?" Soldier Boy grabs Butcher's binoculars and says, "It's my thing. I founded it in 52. Me and this other soup, Liberty. Man, was she a firecracker." He chuckles. "I didn't expect that one."
Right?
Yeah.
I did not.
Butcher says Frenchie's going to be heartbroken he missed this. Again, I love how both Butcher and think of Frenchie here.
Well, I'm so because there is a friend of mine, and like it's from my band days, and so if I mention something like this to another person that I know, he's going to know exactly what I'm talking about, kind of deal. That's why I was asking if you. It's like, man, Frenchie's going to be real upset that he missed this. It's like there is, because I have no appreciation or want to even be in the same county. But it's like, they would give anything to be there. It's like, oh man, he's going to be real bummed. I have to be here. And it's like, why couldn't he be here instead of me?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know how Frenchie is. There isn't a drug that he doesn't have in his system at any given time.
I love it. I love it. He's he's so turned into one of my favorite people.
Huey says there are a lot of people in there. Soldier Boy says, "Well, as long as they stay out of my way, they'll be fine." Huey says, "Okay, all right. Just give me 3 minutes. I'll jump in. I'll jump back out. I'll tell you exactly where to find the twins. Nobody else in your way." Soldier Boy says, 3 minutes. Huey runs a couple of steps, then teleports out of his clothes. Now, Soldier Boy is being awfully patient with them,
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe he does feel some obligation for the fact that these guys, first off, they got him out of out of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
He got his way back over here on his own, but he's tough enough to do that. But they got him free.
Yeah.
So that's got to count for something. Then they serve up the woman who betrayed him. That counts for something, obviously. So the guy, he does seem to care a little. I mean, he does seem to care a little bit about. When he'll tell you he's going to do something, like he seems to have some common decency. I mean, it appears that he may have some decency to him, but I don't believe. Again, like all these other people, just because the appearances can be deceiving. So,
Yeah, I like him. I'm worried. So
Yeah.
obviously he killed MM's parents, but I don't think that was malicious. That was just more accidental /
No.
callous,
It's
right?
absolutely not malicious, but he doesn't care.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the issue. And that he's
Yeah.
probably had done a lot of that kind of stuff, the collateral damage, right?
Yeah. Well, that's got to be a big thing. Remember, they dropped it from. We talked about the collateral damage in earlier episodes.
Yes.
When the people worry about 20% for the cops because high, and it's like these guys are hitting 60% casualty rates with their callousness and carelessness. So yeah, this is kind of like that. It's just I'm like, I don't think he didn't intentionally go out to kill this family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was doing his job.
Yeah. And then with the Russian stuff, he most of the time so far, like he hasn't attacked anybody that didn't deserve it. Just it was accidental.
Yeah, and in a way, in a weird way, until he starts doing something really crazy, he's actually done some penance. Sorry, MM, but I mean, the guy's had acid pumped in his veins. You watch the videos of them firing machine guns in his mouth, and Lord knows what else they give. Acid in his system, whatever. Trying to, and he shrugged it off. Scalpels in the eyeball. It's
right.
So he's obviously paid because it wasn't fun for Soldier Boy. It hurt.
Right.
So he's obviously paid for some serious crimes physically.
Inside, Starlight is speaking with a mostly naked Blue Hawk. He still has his helmet on, along with boots and a Speedo. Blue Hawk says, Soldier Boy? Nah, he's dead as dog. Starlight says, no, he's not. I swear, this is really happening. Please, you need to help me get people out of here, now. Blue Hawk says, Starlight, come on. Do not let them do this to you. She sighs. He goes on. This fear, you heard what Homelander said. Lamestream media is making a mountain out of a molehill. Do the research. She says, oh my God, this is real. These attacks are real. Soldier Boy is real. He reaches out and creepily puts his hand on her shoulder. He says, well, I just think you could stand to be a little better informed. Homelander's going to take care of it, okay? I'm going to go find a salad to toss. Excuse me.
Wow.
Starlight walks off after he leaves. After they both leave, Huey teleports right to where they were standing. We hear a man in the background say, you melted my cock ring. A naked woman with glowing eyes stands up and is looking at Huey. We hear a woman yell, oh, Jesus, your stretching powers. Is Ezekiel here? I didn't see him.
I was working hard, and no pun intended, to not look at the edges of the scene, as I previously said. I was focused on the center, so I wasn't trying hard to listen either. It's like, okay, let's just make it through here because I know it's going to pay out. So, and seeing MM covered in some disgusting bodily fluids, it's kind of a payout in and of itself. So
yes, that whole sequence where Termite runs into him, ruins his jacket, then it just completely gets ruined.
Oh yeah,
hilarious.
Oh,
feel
absolutely.
bad for MM. Yeah.
Yes.
Starlight is walking around the house and comes upon a room where she hears the Deep speaking. Oh, it's about to get real weird.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh my God, your mouth is amazing. It's like a velvet vacuum draining my balls."
I just now realized where we were. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
The Deep has his back to the door, but Starlight can see his butt cheeks through a fish tank. The fish tank's between them. The Deep says, oh yeah, you are so hot. Oh God, your legs go on for days. We hear a horrible squelching noise and the Deep grunts. Starlight walks around the fish tank to see what's going on, and she yells, what the? The Deep is surprised and says, this isn't what it looks like. She says, what are you doing here? He says, nothing. I'm not doing anything. Why would you even... This octopus was sick. Why would you ask that? Starlight gets out her phone and says, Homelander is going to love this. She takes a picture. He says, wait. Don't. Please, stop. She is slowly taking her index finger and pointing at the send button on the phone and is slowly going towards the screen. The Deep says, no. Okay. Look, that's why I'm here. It's his idea. She stops and asks, what's his idea? A tentacle comes into view and the Deep slowly pushes it out of the way. And the octopus is sick? Nice excuse. For real. Now, I don't want to dig too deep into this, but I thought octopus had beaks. Isn't there like a sharp thing
I
in
thought
there?
was that octopus or is it the squid
I thought both of them.
or the nautilus? Or I got no idea. I kind of thought they did too, but man, that's too. They were sick. That's like I'm reminded of something. I just can't remember what it is. It's almost like somebody. It's like some 70s movie where somebody's probably trying to cop a feel on some girl who's fainted or something like that. And it's like, oh, she's sick, she fainted. I don't know what it is. It's like it's disgusting, but that's just that line is that is very uncomfortable though. That it's just octopus is sick.
Mm-hmm. That's a hell of a small tank for that octopus too.
Yeah,
it was a pretty big octopus.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah,
it's bigger than his other friend Timothy. Yeah,
Timothy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Cassandra would like this.
I don't think Cassandra cares. She's using him as a means to an end. I don't think she actually loves him.
I think she does care about something. I think she cares about control, and we've talked about manipulation. So I think the fact that he would, dare to be looking at somebody else or be with somebody else, I'm not sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
But, that could very well be. She could be right there.
Okay. Tessa is yelling at Tommy, saying, "I said no cameras in the toilets, Tommy." He is following her and says, "Give it back." They have arrived at the TV. She turns and says, "You're pathetic. You know what? Let's see how everyone feels about close-ups of their assholes without consent." Tommy says, "You. I'm done. I never want to see you again." Huey is walking by. The man that had the electric shockers on his nipples stops Huey and whispers something in his ear. Huey says, "Oh, that's sweet. I got to give my asshole a breather, The man nods and keeps walking. Tessa says, "Then say goodbye to that Westfield Mall opening next week in Poughkeepsie, because nobody's coming to see you without me." Tommy angrily says, "I hate you. I hate your mouth. I hate the way your jaw pops when you chew. And I hated every second I spent holding that clammy hand." And she clacks her jaws a couple times to emphasize, egg him on.
The jaw popper, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Huey sees a poster of them on the wall holding hands as we hear them fighting. Tessa says, "I should have killed you in the womb." Tommy yells, you. She yells, you, Tommy. It's a real lovely pair these two are.
Yeah, real lovely folks, yes. Let me just say this. They're twins and they're at an orgy. So, yes, they're just, yes.
Huey walks out of earshot, then runs into A-Train. A-Train apologizes, then realizes it's Huey. He says, "Hey, I know you like soups, but I'm off the table." Huey says, "That's not why I'm here, okay? You're here too, A-Train says, "Whatever, Pornhub. I don't have time for you right now." Huey takes a moment, then begins to look angry. He finds a robe and puts it on. He says, "Hey, you never said you were sorry." A-Train asks, "What?" Huey says, "For Robin. You never apologized for Robin." A-Train says, "You want to do this right now?" Huey says, "Yeah, I do. You just get away with everything, don't you? Just running past all the broken people you leave behind." A-Train says, "All right." He takes his glasses off and says, "You know what?" Huey asks, "What?" A-Train doesn't say anything for a moment, then says, "I'm sorry." "Is that what you want to hear?" "'Cause I am, okay? It's up seeing somebody that you love get hurt like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Huey."
Wow. I about fell out when I heard that.
Yeah.
I was not anticipating that.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, this seems truly authentic.
Yes.
Yes.
Very authentic. I mean, I really thought, because, this is twice within in this one episode that people have told him, and he's realized, he's finally realized that, wow, I am not a good guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huey still doesn't think this is enough, though, and he punches A-Train. Huey's got some problems inside.
See that? Well, it goes right back to this, and I'll come back to this again. It goes back to this. No one ever said, "I'm sorry for Robin." That's the first time after this year and a half or 2 years, however long the show's. I know it's 3 seasons, but however much time has passed in their world, A-Train has been. He's never been apologetic about it. He's never cared, and they've been together on a couple of occasions, and he's antagonistic. A-Train is toward Huey. So, this is kind of coming. I mean, he's had it coming. but it's nice to see him actually be aware of it. I was, like I said, I was not expecting that. It really caught me surprised. I think this caught me by surprise almost more than anything else this episode.
Yeah. Seeing A-Train be actually decent for once.
Yeah. Finally realizing what it means to be human is like, dude, apologize, because that is at the root of Huey's problem is Robin's death. I believe has been the whole, and I'll come back to that here in a minute and later in the discussion with Starlight and Huey.
Okay. Starlight happens to be walking by and runs up to them. A-Train is shocked. He asks, "How did you do that?" Starlight is yelling, "Stop, stop." A-Train says, No. How the did you do that? Huey yells, "I'll show you again," and rushes forward. Yeah, Starlight stops him and says, "No, that is not going to happen." She turns to A-Train and says, "A-Train, get out of here. Not that you deserve the warning." She escorts Huey away, then asks, "Is he here?" Huey says, "He's only here for the twins, all right? Nobody else has to get hurt." Starlight says, "You don't get to decide who to serve up on a platter here, okay? These are real people. We need to clear the house now. This is about to be a bloodbath." Huey says, "No, it won't. I made Soldier Boy promise me not to do anything." Starlight says, "Huey, stop it. Listen to me. Homelander is coming. The Deep told me. When those two start fighting, please help me." Huey looks behind her and sees Soldier Boy has entered the house. He says, "You have to go." She says, "No, I need to stop him," and runs after Soldier Boy. Huey yells, "Annie, no, Annie." He runs up behind her, wrapping his arms around her, and teleports them both outside to the car Huey used to drive to the party. A naked Starlight says, "Oh my God, you teleported me? What the?" Huey says, "I saved you, Annie. All I want is to save you." She says, "You keep saying that, but I don't need you to save me." Huey says, "Right. God forbid I help you, because I always have to be the weak one, the one that you have to rescue." She adamantly says, "No." He continues his rant. "You always have to be the strong one. You always have to be so much stronger than me." She says, "I thought that you didn't care about that. I mean, on our first date, you said that it didn't bother you." He says, "I know, but it does. Sometimes. A little." Starlight says, "I thought the drug had you up, Huey, but this is you. This is all you." So here we go. He's got an inferiority complex, and I really don't see how they get past this one.
Yeah, that's a big problem. And the part of the thing that's also that she doesn't realize, that's what she said, is on their first date, he was also working her as an intelligence asset.
Yes.
And dealing with flashbacks of Robin haunting him.
Correct again. But
now this is not an excuse.
A nerdy Huey at that time would not have thought that this was going to bother him. No, because he hasn't had to live in a world where like it mattered that your girlfriend was stronger than you.
Yeah. But he has been put time and time again and like I said, covered in people he likes, blood and guts, and other people that he doesn't even know is blood and guts, and even a mammal's blood and guts. He just gets getting covered in people's heads. And so it's just, I understand why he'd like to be able to protect him, but it's not just protect her. It'd be nice to be able to protect yourself from all that messed up stuff going on all around you all the time.
Yeah. Now, her characterization saying that she doesn't need him to save her, she has come crying to him a couple of times about being scared for her life.
She has.
With Homelander.
He's helped bolster her up in some encouragement ways.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to do that, but at the same time, it's not just one thing. This is a problem I get when some people want to lay things out. It's just one. It's not one thing or the other. There's a lot of things he's got going on here. A lot of it's like I said, just that protection. I mean, as a guy, I'm sorry, like it or not, I think we're wired to be that way.
Yes.
I mean, at least this is what Charles Bronson has taught us with the Death Wish hexology.
Oh my God.
There is. It is true. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Death Wish 1, 74. Death Wish 2, 1982. Death Wish 3, 1985. Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, 1987. Death Wish 5, The Face of Death, 1994. Death Wish 6, The New Vigilante was canceled, but it was because 5 was such a failure. But we rebooted it and redid it with Bruce Willis and the Charles Bronson role there. So technically we have a Death Wish hexology here.
Oh, wow. Incredible. You hit me. You blindsided me with this one. Nice.
Oh,
Nice. Well done. I'm gonna give you the clap.
all right. That one, I think we can say. These are lessons I've learned from Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
Oh.
Inside, has cleaned up and changed. He is now wearing the TNT Smile Time Hour shirt. There are a number of posters for this show on the walls in this room. He's walking down a hallway when Soldier Boy walks into view. There is a stare down for a second. Then pulls out a grenade, pulls the pin, and lobs it down the hallway at Soldier Boy. Gas starts coming out. It lands at Soldier Boy's feet. He picks it up and directly inhales the gas. He exhales and says, "Halothane, what did you think you were going to do with that?" Walks towards him, then says, "You killed my family." Soldier Boy cocks his head and asks, "Which one?" Gets a sneer on his face. He has tears in his eyes. He puts his dukes up and gets in a fighting stance. Butcher walks in and says, "Oi, not him. Twins are out there." Soldier Boy looks back at then walks in the direction of the twins. Walks up to Butcher, sighs, and says, "So you get Homelander, but I can't get Soldier Boy? You're a hypocrite, Butcher. Now move." Butcher says, "I can't let you do it, It'd be suicide." Tries to walk by Butcher, but Butcher puts his hand on his chest. Desperately tries to overpower him, but can't match Butcher's strength. He grabs Butcher's forearm and can't move it. He gives up and breaks a glass on a nearby display case. He extracts a bat. The case is holding a glove and a bat for Steve Garvey from the LA Dodgers.
It's a beautiful display, and I'm not a sports guy, but I am a nerd. And I thought that was a really sweet display.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
You don't have to cost a bunch of money for that kind of display alone. It's, not the material in the display. The display alone is thousands of dollars. Look at display.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fancy.
Hardwood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Butcher says, "Oh, come off it. What you going to do with it?" Yells, "Move," as he swings and hits Butcher in the face with the bat. It doesn't do anything to him. Tommy is yelling at Tessa, "You're such an idiot. Can't even work the TiVo without me." Suddenly the TV lights up with an in-toilet view of someone using the restroom. Tessa says, "And there it is, you sick." Soldier Boy walks up and says, "Hiya, kids. That poop shoot's had a workout, huh? Looks like the Lincoln Tunnel." Tessa unplugs the camera and says, "Ben." Back to and Butcher. Swings the bat again and yells, "You me, you selfish piece of." He swings the bat 4 times in total, and on the 4th, the bat shatters in MM's hands. Butcher says that...
Was he hitting him in between, though? While Ben is up here talking to the twins? Was he still hitting him all that time?
The whole time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that wasn't a big, long time.
That was a pretty... I would say these are probably going on simultaneously, right?
Okay.
But they can only show one thing at a time, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. This immediately after he swung that first one, this probably takes place immediately after this.
Yeah.
Butcher says that's enough. Throws the handle of the bat down and puts his dukes up again. In the other room, Tessa says, "Nicaragua wasn't our fault." Tommy says, "Yeah, swear to God." Soldier Boy asks, "Then whose fault was it? If you tell me, maybe I'll let you go." Tommy says, It was Noir. It was Noir's idea, top to bottom. He gave you to the Russians, please." He really is the catch-all, isn't he? The guy can't even defend himself, so everyone just says, "Yeah, it was Noir."
But what's funny is that Noir could have been responsible, him and Edgar together. But we know it was, the way that the Crimson Countess come running out of the woods, like she, we know she sold him out, but was it like all 3 of them? Because I don't think Noir would have initiated, because I think that he is pretty much, well, as Soldier Boy will say something here in a minute, but I do believe that Noir is pretty much fought all down the line, or he is now. But remember, in the Nicaragua flashback, he was still intact, as far as we know.
Right.
And so maybe he did, but I would have guaranteed it probably been Stan Edgar at Stan's at his instigating, wouldn't you think? Because we've seen nothing that shows any Noir ever taking initiative on his own. He reacts.
Mm-hmm.
He goes hunts. But, it's we don't see him really, we see him being pointed and aimed.
Right.
Is usually how I see it. So,
yeah, I mean, in modern day, at least, Definitely.
Yeah. But in that flashback with where he was talking with Stan Edgar when they were younger, that stuff is like, maybe there is something to that. That could be a possibility. But by the end of that Russian attack, that Noir was not responsible for much of anything. It doesn't look like with that head wound.
Right. Soldier Boy skeptically asks, Noir? Tommy nods and says, uh-huh. Tessa quietly says, yeah. Soldier Boy says, Noir wouldn't take a without Vought's say-so. Tessa begs, saying, please, it's the truth. Suddenly, a Russian pop song begins playing on a Bluetooth speaker. Love Sausage is there making out with a woman and speaking in Russian. Soldier Boy begins to have an episode. He sees flashes of the lab and the blowtorch. Tessa looks at Tommy and says, give me your hand. He says, it's been years. She asks, do you want to die? They clasp hands and yell, TNT detonate. And they both kind of shove their hands forward. Their power fizzles. Soldier Boy unleashes. It is a continuous beam of energy, and he wipes out the twins, then rotates and clears out everything in his path.
That's wicked shot, too.
It is. When he goes outside the house, it just shows him blowing out the wall as he's rotating. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing Soldier Boy in action here. I mean, we haven't seen him much, but it's been really nice.
Yeah. Outside, Huey and Starlight have gotten dressed with whatever clothes they could find. She hears the explosion and says, I got to go. Huey says, Annie, wait. Annie, just, you can't go. He has moved to stand in front of her. She asks, I can't? He says, I'm not going to let you. She blasts him in the chest with the energy burst. He flies 30 feet or so and skids along the road. He groans. Back at the house, a naked woman is screaming. She's outside in the front yard. A bunch of people are bloodied and bruised. Love Sausage is dragging a scorched tentacle on the ground behind him and yelling in pain. He reaches down and hangs it over his neck. Now, we touched on this specifically in one of our episodes, that while this was not a useless power, using it would put it in danger.
Yes. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw this. Mm-hmm. But what's funny is like this should have been a scenario where he should have been safe to use said tentacle appendage. I'm not sure how to refer.
To locomote himself out of there?
Well, not locomote himself out of there. I mean, I don't think he was caught by surprise. I mean, that's why,
he won't shrink again.
Yeah.
Because his powers got stripped. So now it's permanently.
I didn't even think about that.
I just realized that.
Oh, no.
It's going to be like 15 feet long for the rest of his life.
No. Oh, okay. Wow.
He hangs it over his neck. I guess that's his. I guess he could put it in like a satchel or something. Maybe a big duffel bag, carry it around.
I think I'd start talking with doctors about options at that point. It's like if you can get a reduction, man. I don't know what you do at that point, man.
The Deep runs out holding a plastic shopping bag full of an octopus. He says, no, I don't want to hear this right now. He doesn't have any pants on. He's just got his little Speedo on and his top.
I love it how his priority is to get the octopus and not the pants. It's like, okay. It's like, oh my word.
He gets into his gas-guzzling Hummer H2 and takes off. Blue Hawk runs out of the house, knocking someone over. A-Train is following him. He calls out to him. Blue Hawk yells, what? A-Train says, we got to talk. Blue Hawk says, not right now. There's a psycho back there. A-Train walks up and looks at him for a moment, then grabs him by the throat. Blue Hawk struggles and says, get your hands off me. A-Train says, you hurt a lot of people. You hurt my brother. You're not going to get away with it. Not this time. A-Train slams him down on the pavement and grabs him by the ankle, then takes off at super speed. He leaves so quickly that Blue Hawk's helmet is left behind. We're treated to a couple of scenes as A-Train drags him along the pavement at super speed. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
A-Train's heart begins to beat rapidly and he finally has to stop. He's clutching his chest. The remains of Blue Hawk are briefly visible. It's pretty bad. Half his head has been scoured away by the pavement. One of his hands is missing. His chest is a bloody ruin. A-Train collapses on the ground next to the corpse of Blue Hawk, and it looks like he dies. Do you think he died right there?
I don't think so. I'm hoping not, at least, especially after the apology. I'm hoping he just fainted. Because, we have this, that he's had this weighing on him, fear of using his power. And now with a redemptive side to him, actually, to him here, it's like somebody, like we've talked about, I think heart patients and people who've had heart attacks, they fear anytime you have any kind of weirdness after having something. I know it's a psychological thing. Yeah. Yes. And so it could all be that, and maybe he just worked through, maybe he just pushed through, and maybe next season he'll be all right, and he might be someone to be helpful. Maybe he'll join, maybe he'll finally come around to our side.
Okay. Maybe.
I hope. I mean, after this, after this, I want a redemption arc. I may want too much with that, but I mean,
he's done some pretty bad stuff.
Yeah,
getting Alex killed.
Yeah,
unforgivable.
But he's got stuff to make up for, but maybe he will. Maybe he sees it.
Okay.
Maybe not. We'll find. Time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. Back at the house, a mini termite says, "Help me, somebody, please help."
Oh my word! Do you know? Did you ever see the original The Fly with Vincent Price?
Not the original one, no.
The teleportation happens. The scientist the man body gets the fly head. The fly gets the man head, and at the very end, it's like the fly is trapped in the web, going, "Help me!"
No, I haven't seen that one.
So I'm just curious if it's. I never thought about that. If that's that reference. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've only seen the Jeff Goldblum one, which was terrifying.
It is. It's Cronenberg, dude. It's David Cronenberg. It's Eastern Promises. It's History of Violence. That's the same director. Beautiful.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Homelander's boot heel lands on him and crushes him. So I guess, again, that blast from Soldier Boy made it so that he couldn't transform back into full size.
Yeah, I think it's like somebody robbed her of her power. So this seems to be a nasty effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. That's pretty cool, and bad.
Yeah. Homelander surveys the damage to the house, then walks towards it. Inside, Butcher wakes up from being knocked out. He slowly gets to his feet. He sees MM laying on the ground, and he checks his pulse. He breathes a sigh of relief when he finds one. Soldier Boy staggers into the room. Butcher asks, "Sorted?" Soldier Boy looks around in confusion and asks, "What happened?" I think it's interesting that he can't remember anything after he lets it loose.
That one, that one was one where he had that kind of flashback tied to that song, just like the one where he went off in the first time in the city. So I'm curious, that's more of a PTSD moment, detonation, versus where I'm guessing, because he seemed to be pretty together after I think we mentioned this already, but when he blew the Countess up, he seemed to recover pretty quickly. Like that was okay. But these ones where he's blindsided with this PTSD with that song, is that the third time that's happened, or this is the second time? I guess it's just the second time.
The PTSD that we saw, I think, second time.
Yeah, so, but that sets him off on one. I get that one from not being able to remember, but the other one is like that would be very, very unhandy. It does some nasty things that are stripping people of power is a nice side benefit for, depending on who it is. But I'm just curious.
Yeah,
I'm excited by this though. I love this character.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Homelander walks in. He's got crazy eyes. He puts his hands behind his back and says, "William, Butcher, and Soldier Boy, of course, you are behind this whole thing. It really is all about me. William, we made a deal to fight to the death, you and me. This is cheating. Deal's off." Homelander quickly lets loose a blast of heat vision, slamming Butcher against the wall. Homelander addresses Soldier Boy. "You were my hero growing up. I watched all your movies hundreds of times. You were the only one that was nearly as strong as me." Soldier Boy says, "Buddy, you think you look strong? You're wearing a cape. You're just a cheap knockoff." Homelander shakes his head and says, "Oh, no. I'm the upgrade." Homelander immediately launches himself forward and grabs Soldier Boy by the throat and slams him against the wall. His eyes light up, but Soldier Boy gives him a mean uppercut. He lands a couple more blows. Homelander attempts to punch Soldier Boy, but he dodges to the side, and Homelander puts his fist through the stone wall. They stand toe-to-toe trading blows.
Oh, that's amazing to finally see Homelander cut it loose a little bit.
Yeah, this fight is cool.
Do you think the damage from them hitting each other, that should be causing way more destruction, because these are some hard bodies hitting each other super hard. I would think that the concussion alone from their hits would be doing damage to the house from just hitting each other. Should be doing something. I would think. I may be wrong. Maybe the size, maybe because they're small. Maybe I don't know if that's a true thing or not. I don't know if that's a physics thing. It doesn't matter how hard it's hitting. If you're a small surface hitting something else, it may not make that kind of damage. But unless I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about the concussion blows, because presumably their hand would have to be going faster than speed of sound, right?
Yeah, that doesn't appear to be the case. They're just slugging hard.
Yeah, they hit hard, but it's hitting something equally hard.
Could take it. Yeah, I was going to say they could take it, and they're not being knocked into things.
Yeah,
but they're knocked into a couple things. That's a tough house.
Yeah, they break quite a bit of stone wall.
It was tough. I'm sorry, but
In the background, MM begins to wake up. He reaches into his waistband and pulls out a gun. Starlight runs in and says, MM, please, I need you. People are hurt. MM surges forward towards Homelander and Soldier Boy. Starlight stops him and says, MM, please. He doesn't control you. We have to help these people. It's up to us. In the background, Homelander and Soldier Boy are punching each other. MM looks at Starlight, then nods and leaves the room. After they leave, Soldier Boy throws a punch and Homelander catches it in one hand. Soldier Boy throws a punch with the other hand and Homelander catches that one as well, then kicks Soldier Boy in the stomach and launches him against the wall. Soldier Boy falls to the floor. As he stands up, Homelander picks him up and slams him against the wall. He grabs him by the throat and begins to squeeze. He slowly lifts him off the floor and says, "You really had me going for a minute there." Butcher walks in and says, "Oi." Homelander does a slow head turn to look at Butcher. Butcher lets loose a blast of his heat vision, knocking Homelander down to the ground. Homelander says, "What the?" Butcher slowly walks into the room and Homelander stands up. He asks, "What have you done?" Butcher says, "Scorched earth." They launch themselves at each other, trading a flurry of blows. At 50 minutes and 52 seconds, there is a shot of Butcher grinning with crazy eyes, and it's just like we called it with the Eddie Murphy skit. Yeah, he's got like blood in his teeth and everything. You can just see it. That's exactly what I
need to go back and rewatch that whole fight again too, because that stuff is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been waiting for 3 seasons. You?
Yeah. I mean, basically since we first saw him. Yeah.
Wow.
After trading a couple more blows, Butcher shoots a blast of heat vision at Homelander and misses. Homelander jumps backwards and begins to fly in the air. Both Butcher and Homelander activate their heat vision simultaneously, and it meets in the middle. This was the shot I was waiting for. Had to have it.
Yes.
Yeah, it meets in the middle. There's like a glowing orb.
Yes. Well, it's the Age of Ultron. It's what it is. It's that shot.
Soldier Boy gets up off the ground. Butcher is having trouble maintaining the heat vision. He begins yelling from the strain. Suddenly, Soldier Boy grabs Homelander by the cape and slams him on the ground. He did mention the cape earlier. I wonder if he was planning this all along.
You're pretty right.
Yeah. Also, I think it was mentioned how capes are dangerous in The Incredibles.
I need to go back and watch that because I remember enjoying that a lot. The Incredibles.
Yeah.
But Homelander's problem that here is that Soldier Boy seems to know how to fight, and Butcher definitely knows how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But Homelander actually seems to know how to really fight too, which I was kind of concerned. I'd like to say it's one thing to have power, but it's another thing to know how to use it.
Yeah, we've never seen him practice.
Yeah, so he obviously seems to know what he's doing.
Yeah,
to some extent. So I was kind of impressed with that too.
Soldier Boy throws Homelander against the wall and begins punching him. Butcher runs up and tries to help. Homelander dodges punches from both Soldier Boy and Butcher at the same time. He then grabs Butcher by the neck and slams him up against the wall. A naked Huey teleports in and punches Homelander, saving Butcher. Homelander activates his heat vision and Huey dodges by teleporting out of the way. Homelander moves towards him and Huey teleports through him. Butcher and Soldier Boy jump on Homelander's back, knocking him to the ground. Huey teleports in to help, and the three of them attempt to subdue Homelander. Butcher has one arm, Huey has the other, and Soldier Boy's in the middle. Butcher yells, "Do it!" Someone is holding Homelander's head down on the ground. I'm not sure who it is. Yeah. It might be Butcher. Homelander is yelling in rage and his eyes are glowing, and it looks really cool.
It's
really
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
It is a beautiful shot. Like I said, I've been waiting for 3 seasons, for 3 years for this. And I mean, I didn't realize I was waiting for this until you see it. You're like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
There is we've been waiting for a prolonged suit battle, and this is about as long, this is it. One of our longest ones yet.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this is it's so reminiscent of the girls getting it done.
Similar. 3-on-1. Yeah.
3-on-1,
Yeah. Soldier Boy's chest begins to glow. Butcher looks over and yells, Huey, get out of here. Huey says, no way. Homelander lets loose a scream of rage and knocks them all off of him, and he rockets through the skylight out into the sky. The three are left panting in the room. There's a cool shot retreating through the skylight, and we can see all three of them laying on the ground.
And again, wow. I mean, this is 2 major adrenaline sequences in an hour-long show. The first one for me was the Serge and the ladies in the comic. That one just had me on the edge of my seat. This had that same impact. I mean, this is not something you watch before bed because it's going to get you all jacked up on adrenaline, man.
Yeah. That was a very exciting episode.
Real exciting episode.
Mm-hmm. Outside, is administering first aid to the survivors. Starlight watches Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Huey walk out of the house. Huey has found some clothes inside. They all share a look. Starlight looks angry. Looks disgusted. We are taken to the boys' office in the Flatiron building where Frenchie is tending to Kamiko's wounds. Frenchie says, I'm sorry. She reaches for her abdominal wound. He says, hey, please, no, easy. We need a doctor to re-sew these stitches. She signs, it was always me. He asks, what do you mean? She signs, I blame the V for making me a monster, but that's not true. It is just who I am. Frenchie says, no, you are not a monster. It seems no matter how much we try to run, we cannot escape our old lives, huh? I suppose no one can run that fast. She signs, those things little Nina said about you are not true. She puts her hand on his cheek and they share a tender moment.
And this is kind of one of those things where he's trying to console her for being what she is and vice versa. So I like these two, I want them together.
Yeah. They're good for each other. I
think so.
Yeah. Homelander is in his room at Vought Tower staring at himself in the mirror. He has a bruise on his cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something.
Back in Vermont, Starlight is walking by a line of corpses at the party. She turns on her phone and hands it to He says, this is a bad idea. She says, Homelander helped make me America's sweetheart. He's going to regret that. asks, you ready? She says, mm-hmm. She begins speaking. I'm in Montpelier, Vermont. 12 heroes and civilians are dead. A lot more are wounded. Now, Homelander and Vought are going to tell you that it was the supervillain and that they have it handled. They don't. It was Soldier Boy. I know I sound insane, but Soldier Boy doesn't care about protecting Americans, and he probably never has. Most heroes don't care about you. They only care about their image, and Homelander is the worst of them. He's hurt people. He's done something to Maeve. I don't know what they're going to do to me for telling the truth, but I'm going to keep doing it, and I should have done it sooner. I'm sorry. And one more thing. I'm not Starlight anymore. My name is Annie January, and I quit.
And she has the chip out, too.
She does, yeah.
So she can go under the hide. So
yeah, and that's how the episode ends.
Yeah.
While she was live streaming, there was a number of, you could watch the comments progress in the live stream chat from the people watching it, and I'm not going to read all of them because there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
It's people kind of chiming in, asking what they missed. People saying, "Oh, this is crazy. What's happening? Who died?" There's somebody was like, "Holy, 12 heroes died," and then when she mentioned Soldier Boy, people start freaking out.
Yeah,
people start increasingly putting in hashtag Vought lied, people died. You start seeing it more and more throughout as she's talking. Some people start asking about if the FBSA is supposed to handle this kind of stuff and do they know about this? And there's a couple things about Maeve in there. There's a rainbow emoji.
Yeah.
And then at the end, people are like, no way this is real. Holy shit, is she quitting? No way. So that's how it ends.
Yeah. Good episode. Man, great episode.
Yeah, it was a really good episode. What were your standout moments?
There's a bunch of stuff. There's good, funny stuff at the beginning with Ashley and Homelander. I'm sorry, Ashley and the Deep.
Yeah.
If the Deep screws up at your head, I was worried about it before, but this is extremely concerning for her now. And then Noir in the elevator.
Man. Yeah. It's crazy.
That is something else. He's so funny.
The Homelander split personality scene.
Oh,
that was crazy.
Really crazy, literally and figuratively. Yes, so yes.
big reveal there, actually.
Yes, and it's been a lifelong thing. That's the scary thing. It's like, wow, he's been dealing with this his whole life. Crazy.
Yeah,
no wonder he's crazy.
And then the Victorian Starlight scene in Vought Tower. That was a really good one.
Yes,
high tension.
It really blew me away and shocked me that reveal. And again, the Frenchie Kamiko Cherie scene in the warehouse. I mean, that's like Scorsese or Tarantino. I mean, just straight up that kind of intensity to it. Anything with MM has been great, but we got the story all out, and we have a lot of Sergei's story. Not a lot, but we're getting there. You know, we're getting back to a and then the Huey, the A-Train stuff. I just about fell over when A-Train sincerely apologize. I mean, I did not see that coming. I did see a bunch coming. I thought that was going to come first thing. I didn't realize it. I did not. I expected A-Train to do everything to earn a punch, not for him to apologize.
Yeah.
You know,
that was very surprising to me as well.
Yeah, that was that. So there's a couple of real surprises. Like, wow, those were great surprises. I love being surprised like that.
Yeah. And then, of course, I think for both of us, the Homelander, Soldier Boy, Butcher, Huey fight scene.
Yes.
Really paid off. Yeah.
Yes. All this time it really paid off good. And that time for this kind of action. I'm hoping that these next two scenes, and like I said earlier, and I forgot to mention, it's like, man, where's Maeve?
There's going to have to be some closure on that before the end of the season. I'm
assuming that she's some facility. And
I'm expecting to get more on Black Noir and Maeve by the end of the season. Have to have it.
Maybe Noir went to get her.
I just have a suspicion he's going after Soldier Boy. He's going to see him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. That could very well be.
Maybe he's going to get Mr. Edgar.
Oh, that could be too. That could very well be. Oh, good thought, man. Well done.
We'll see.
Yes, we will. I'm tempted to watch that. I'm tempted to go ahead and watch the episode for this week tonight. There's it's homework. So
the earliest I can watch this tomorrow. I got to go to bed.
All right. Yeah. Right.
You got any final thoughts?
Man, no, just that I did love this episode. It's one of the best episodes I think so far. Despite the orgy, it was an amazing episode. It was easy to look around the orgy because they shot it. It was kind of funny. They did a lot of blocking, using them to block a lot of stuff. It was, well done, but also very vulgar at the same time. It's funny.
Yeah, and the other stuff was largely out of focus too.
Yes, but it was kind of funny though at the same time because it's just a really awful setting to be in. How uncomfortable everyone was. It's worth it.
Right. Cool. All right, man. You did a good night. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, good job.
We thank you all for joining us today.
Again, we really like to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we've had a really great time talking about the topic today.
If you would like to support our show, you can find us at HorseFrogProductions.com, where you can find our Patreon link. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description.
And if you'd like to contact us through email, it's at contact@horsefrogproductions.com.